Leave me alone, Blondie. Izuku was tired of dreaming. In just one day, his childhood friend told him to jump off a roof, and his childhood idol told him to give up his dreams. On that day, he realized that he was tired of being told what to do. He sniffled back his tears and tried his hardest back then to get into UA despite the obstacles. He trained his heart out and cursed himself for not thinking of training sooner. He trained for 10 months leading up to the entrance exams of UA. He did everything he could think of, from following fighting videos online to just basic exercise to help improve his stamina and strength. His mother helped support him while his school classmates ignored his presence more than usual. Bakugo was ignoring him the most, which caused everyone to follow his lead. But it wasn't that important to him anymore. He had a bigger goal in his sight. And finally, the day of the exam came before he knew it, and he made a complete fool of himself. He tripped and couldn't thank the girl who saved him from falling on his face. A boy wearing glasses scolded him for nervously mumbling when President Mike was explaining the rules. He tried to score points from the large robots, but he just couldn't. Izuku even tried to climb on top of one to try and turn it off, but he was only used as a distraction for a blonde contestant with a belly laser to take the points away from his reach. Izuku tried to save the girl who helped him earlier from the largest robot in the exam since she was trapped, but he wasn't able to do much despite getting her out of the way. He was only able to help the girl escape from the 0-pointer's way before the countdown ticked down to 0. But to his surprise, he got rescue points. He got 50 rescue points from saving the girl. He did it. He could make it to become a hero. Until he read the letter further. It explained that he did receive another point to enter, but due to his quirklessness, they thought it would be safer for him to do general education instead. Izuku allowed the smile of hope to drop from his face that day. He didn't want to be just let in because of pity or let down just because he didn't have a quirk. He allowed himself to let out his rage using a beach that was covered in the trash to vent his anger out on. It just wasn't fair. He at least deserved the chance to prove himself. He got enough points to get into the hero course. Izuku confided with his mother that night, allowing her to be his rock through the whole thing. He leaned on her for support as his hero dreams were once again taken from him. He declined UA's offer and applied to another high school that was normal after thorough research to make sure that they had a more strict bullying policy. He eventually found one that allowed online courses and had an anti-bullying policy. It was strange how his classmates stopped their teasing when they saw his face the next day. It was odd how Bakugo looked weird every time he saw him, or any time Izuku referred to him as Bakugo instead of Kaken. Everyone continued to ignore his existence after Bakugo was announced as having been accepted to UA's hero course. Most of the class gave them knowing looks when they recognized that he wasn't going into UA. But soon he graduated from hell to join a normal school that allowed him to take classes online. It was a calm 3 years compared to what UA had to face those years. By the end of his first year in high school, he was almost thankful he didn't accept just because of the fact that they were being targeted by the League of Villains a lot. And even now, the League of Villains are still out there. All for One was still in Tartarus after the fateful day that the symbol of peace went against him in a lengthy battle before retiring. Their numbers have dwindled down over the past years since heroes have been capturing any members that they can. As far as Izuku knew, a few members were already in prison. Magni was captured after the infamous Shai Hasekai raid followed by Spinner, and they captured Mr. Compress along with an information broker called Jurin right after the League's doctor was found with all remains of the Namu. While UA was dealing with all of that mess, Izuku tried to do his best to be helpful even though he wasn't a hero by any means. He cleaned up Dagobah Beach the best he could with some help from a nice mechanic who helped him drive the trash to the dump. It took a lot of work, but it was worth it to see the results. Seriously, it took a year of his life. It better have been worth it. And it was since he saw the nice mechanic and his family spend some time splashing in the water. There was even a newspaper clipping that Izuku had kept with him all these years that explained how an unnamed person helped clean up the trash beach. He didn't care if he got credit for it, but he always reflected on that as a small victory that helped bring a smile to people's faces. One time he even saved a cat from a tree to give it back to a homeless man in a bright yellow sleeping bag. The dude said he had the potential to become a hero. He just laughed it off and went home that day while the man watched him from afar. He wouldn't say if he felt a little melancholy from his statement. Bakugo graduated from UA and became the hero that they both wanted to be, while Izuku just graduated from college with a degree in journalism. He majored in journalism and minored in quirk studies. Bakugo got everything he wanted while Izuku had to settle into a normal life that everyone knew he was going to get eventually. But hey, look on the bright side, Bakugo isn't #1 like he said he would be. Lemillion took that spot, becoming a symbol of hope to the public. Ground Zero had only recently just been added to the number top 10 list. So, screw you, Kakin. After college, he got some part-time jobs to keep afloat until he could settle into a job that he truly wanted. On the weekdays from mornings to lunch, he worked as a barista. He also worked from afternoon to early night on the weekdays as a cashier in a small grocery store run by a sweet old lady. The sweet old lady pinched his cheeks so often and gave him caramel candies when he was having a bad day. On the weekends, he was a taxi driver at night, driving people drunk and sober to their destination. It wasn't the best schedule, but at least he got a car from his mom. A nice, used small 4-door car that he named Betsy. His life was okay with Betsy, until fucking Bakugo showed up. It has been happening for a while now, and he was honestly getting annoyed. Why the hell was he practically stalking me? For 3 days straight, he has seen the same stupid spiky hair that tried to be hidden by a gray hoodie. For straight 3 days, he got blessed with the presence of the current number 6 hero, Ground Zero, in the store. And during those 3 days, the hero did nothing. He didn't approach him or anything. He would walk in and look through the aisles. He would stop at the spicy snacks before looking over to where Izuku was at the cash register. He had to watch several times as his old childhood friend clutched his fists, started to walk towards him before bailing at the last minute to go back to looking at the snacks. He would repeat it several times before finally leaving with a loud groan. And today was Bakugo's first move at actually being a functioning human being and talking to him. "You can be a hero," Bakugo said deadpan, looking into the face of the man he used to bully into the ground. Izuku took one look at him and muffled a chuckle behind his hand. Bakugo spent 3 days just to tell him this. "Is this a prolonged joke? Get the hell out of my store," Izuku said with a calm voice and a polite smile on his face. Bakugo started to talk and Izuku really didn't want to listen to him. "Listen, Izuku. You call me Midoriya. You have no right to use my name so casually from what you have done to me my whole life," Izuku said angrily, trying to keep his customer smile on, but it ended up looking more threatening that way. Bakugo got a guilty look before continuing, "Look, Midoriya, I know you got accepted into UA. Into the general education department. Yes. Why? Did you come here to rub it in my quirkless face about how you are so much better than me? About how you got into the hero course and became a top 10 hero? Is that it?" Izuku replied back to him quickly. "Come on and just laugh it, get it out of the way." "No, damn it, let me talk." Bakugo got a little frustrated at Izuku's attitude when he replied. "Oh, why? Is the little pro-hero mad that someone won't listen to him? Oh no, what to do?" Izuku remarked dramatically, throwing a hand over his forehead. "Leave me alone, Ground Zero," Izuku said, ending on a deadpan note. He grabbed the broom and started to sweep the floor since it seemed no more customers were coming in for the night. "Wait, look," Bakugo started as Izuku continued to ignore him. "You got into the hero course technically, which means you have the chance to become one, right? You had enough points to make it in. So what if you had to wait a little bit in general education? Izuku scoffed at his words while sweeping all the dust into a small pile. Bakugo continued even though Izuku hadn't responded back. Why didn't you just go for it? You were high on the scoreboards, you had the chance. So what if you were in general? Shinso was in general before he transferred to the hero class. We had him transfer from general education in our second year, so there was an opportunity for you to become one with us too. How about you mind your own fucking business for once in your goddamn life? Izuku slowly turned to Bakugo's face in slow motion it seemed, because he had an amazing quirk that they couldn't let go to waste. Someone took one look at my quirkless diagnosis and figured it was too dangerous for me to ever set foot in the hero class even though I had enough points to get in. Guess what, Blondie? Everything was handed to you. Everyone praised you and brought me down. All the teachers looked past that you hurt me and other kids every single day because of your perfect quirk. I thought I could have a chance at UA, and even they didn't want my butt in there. Bakugo tried to start. Izuku shook his head with a laugh. Shut up. I had to work my ass off twice as hard as anyone else just because of a stupid X-ray. A stupid X-ray that practically defined my life. I had to prove myself on job interviews because they didn't think a quirkless could do anything. Do you even understand? Do you? I had to work my ass off to find good enough jobs to keep me afloat, so I would be a financial burden on my mother. I finally have a life where I can make better, but you have to show up and ruin that for me too. What do you want from me now? Izuku ranted, yelling at Bakugo with his hands tightening on the broom handle. This isn't the life you deserve. You deserve to be Bakugo tried to say before he was pushed out the door forcefully with a broom. Get the fuck out of my life, Kakin. Izuku roared out before slamming the door shut. He watched as Bakugo stormed away before angrily throwing the broom to the floor. I can't be a hero, I can't. I'm not a hero by any definition, I'm just Izuku, and that's enough for me, that's enough. But a little voice inside its head reminded him of the dream he always wanted but could never achieve. And another voice wondered why he said Kakin instead of Bakugo. Heh, I guess old habits die hard just like old dreams. Whom the hell? Bakugo knew he was a dick. A jackass, a jerk, a dumbass. Whatever the hell people called him, it was all true. It wasn't that big of a deal for him until he had a realization when the villains kidnapped him. They saw more potential for him as a villain than normal people seeing him as a hero. He was thankful that Eraserhead had stood up for him to be a hero, but it felt like nobody really thought him to be an actual hero. They just see a great quirk that can be used, and not him as an actual person. Even when he was young, he got excused for whatever he did just because his quirk was perfect for heroics. He started to get help with therapy after the kidnapping ordeal made him have bad night terrors. Night after night, he had horrible nightmares taunting him while he slept. Nightmares where he was still trapped with the villains that were going to turn him into a Namu since he didn't want to become one of them willingly. Nightmares where he was on the podium in the sports festival, where it would switch to the villains having them in their grasp. It got even worse when he started to have bad dreams about his own classmates turning on him and calling him a villain when all he could do was sit back and watch them disappear. With his first therapy session, he got instructed to go to anger management classes to try to help him. In the beginning, he thought he was the best of the best, better than anyone in his whole life until he got to UA and found out something important. He wasn't special. He wasn't the better than anyone when he showed up. He wasn't someone important there, he was just another trainee. People had better quirks, better personalities, and more potential. He was just an angry bomb that didn't want to make any friends. He was silently thankful that Kirishima made the first move to befriending him, and with Kirishima, the rest of the named Baka squad formed. And he was thankful. The rest of his class grew to tolerate him and at least talk to him like a normal person. But no matter how much he made headway into getting better with his feelings, guilt from the past always made their way into his eyes. Midoriya Izuku. Deku, the first friend he ever made, and the only friend he ever regretted losing. He made his life hell, and what for? When he was younger, he saw Izuku reaching out to him to help him up was him calling Bakugo weak. So he just wanted to make Izuku feel weak next to him. He wanted to make Izuku fit into a place that was away from him and his future life as a hero. Izuku made it difficult since he always saw past all the shit he put him through. He tried each and every day to push him away only for Izuku to come running back to him. It didn't matter if he traveled another kid. Izuku would be there to stand between them to try and coerce Bakugo to stop it. It went on for several years. He never really felt truly bad or upset at what he was doing since he convinced himself that he was actually helping Izuku because he was going to get killed as a pro hero. Until that one day. That one day that he told Izuku to jump off the roof and wish for a quirk in the next life. He wished he could take it back ever since the words left his mouth. After that day, Izuku grew more disinterested in everything they did in class. He referred to him as Bakugo and not Kaken. That made him feel something, but he hid it back behind a grimace. Somehow he saw Izuku at the entrance exam for UA and felt betrayed and confused about why he was there. He felt anger at seeing him in the top scores with rescue points, but utter confusion when he didn't see him in the same class. Maybe he was in a different hero class. He asked Mr. Aizawa about it since he scored high enough in the written and got enough points. That alone shocked him. What made Izuku give up trying to go to UA? Until he heard from his homeroom teacher that he was accepted into the general education class, but refused the offer. They didn't accept him into the hero class, Bakugo asked in confusion to his new homeroom teacher. It was after they all had their quirk assessments done. Why not? He had enough points to get in. From what I saw, he was reckless, but he had the potential to be something great if he trained properly. But most teachers saw it as dangerous to include him into hero-type work. I was actually one of the only ones to stick up for the kid. The principal offered him a spot on the general education course. So I thought that the kid could transfer in, but the kid declined the offer, Eraserhead said in a bored tone with a slight irritation in his voice when he recounted that not any pro heroes stood up for the teen. UA didn't accept Izuku because he was quirkless. Were they kidding? Didn't Izuku actually say that they were accepting quirkless students? So what? Does even that rule have a limitation? When he heard that, he had two lines of thoughts going across his mind. At least I don't have to deal with him or have him get in my way. He thought first, which was followed by another stream of thoughts. Izuku would be a great hero. He proved himself in the exam. How the hell couldn't they see the image of a true hero he was trying to become? Why couldn't they see that Izuku was the hero he couldn't be? Didn't they see that Izuku had more potential to be a hero without a quirk than he did? What the hell are they thinking? But ever since the discovery of Izuku not following his dreams became known to him, and he never got to apologize for what he said. The guilt grew heavy in his stomach, and the disbelief formed many insecurities in his mind. Nightmares of Izuku becoming a villain out of the hatred. Nights filled with memories of him and Izuku playing as children, only to end on a vision of Izuku committing suicide. Nightmares of him being the one to push him off the roof while Izuku smiled while he fell towards the ground. It got a little better with time from the help of therapy and the Baka squad following him around. He tried to open himself up more to his peers. He spent time with friends who saw him as equal and not superior to them. Bakugo trained with many others that he respected, and even gave them pointers on how to fight better. He talked with classmates who just saw his personality and not his quirk, which was much different than the followers he had in the past. It grew better, but the guilt kept eating him inside. It wasn't until his last therapy session when he learned how to try and fix things. He knew Izuku could be a hero, and that should be proven to everyone who didn't see him as he did. He knows Izuku can be great. Deku is not his name, not anymore. He is Izuku, and he will be a hero if Katsuki has anything to say about it. Izuku was stuck staring straight ahead of him with a customer smile etched into his face. He really wished that being a barista didn't have to come with "Can I speak to your manager, Karen?" every single day. Same soccer mom haircut, but different lady each time. Complaining from coupons and gift cards to how he had a visible nose piercing. "Fuck you, Karen. I will keep my nose ring, thank you very much." But he did like the creativity of trying to come up with new drinks. His boss allowed him and the other workers to try to make their own custom drink to add to the menu. Last month, Jen made a mint white chocolate latte that stole the boss lady's heart from a single taste. It sold very fast too, so he tried to come up with unique tastes to try to balance out the very sweet menu items they had. Right now, he was experimenting with dark chocolate flavor Italian roast topped with strawberry slices and crushed almonds. He was working on it a lot since each test was just a bit too bitter, but it was coming along great. The day was very slow since the morning rush was an hour ago. He stood at his place at the cash and thinking about any other combinations he could make with fruits when a stranger in a dark blue shirt walked in with a black cloth face mask obscuring their bottom features. He was wearing a beanie that hid his hair, but Izuku could spot a few white strands escaping. "Can I have coffee?" the stranger asked while his eyes surveyed the bright menu above his head. Midoriya looked up. "Sure, sir. What do you want?" The stranger calmly said, "Oh, don't call me sir, and I don't really like sweet things. Can you give me something less sweet?" "Most of our menu is sweet," Izuku replied before he remembered his own experiment, "but I'm working on a new bittersweet drink. Do you want to try?" The stranger nodded after a moment. "Sure." Izuku whipped up the coffee with the right amount of measurements and finished it off with a little bop of whipped cream. "Here you go." "Thanks," the man said before taking a sip. "This is very good, thank you. Did you say you made it?" "Yes, I did make it. Just a new recipe I have been working on. I'm still testing it, the kinks of it," he replied to the man. "I think it's delicious. You should make more," the man stated honestly while his eyes darted to Izuku's name tag, Midoriya-kun. After the man paid, and since it was still slow in the shop, Izuku continued to talk to the man for about 20 minutes. He didn't see the color of his eyes because of the tinted glasses he wore, but his words were sincere while engaged in conversation. He even got him to laugh while talking about one crazy professor he had back in college. He didn't know exactly what led him to talk about pro heroes with the man, but the stranger brought up Shouto. The man asked before sipping the last bit of his coffee, "What do you think of him?" "Oh, I think he is really cool, but it looks like he is struggling when dealing with quirk overuse with his right side," Izuku stated, fixing up the napkin dispenser near the register. "What do you mean?" the man questioned. "I know he uses his fire side when dealing with emergencies, but he doesn't use it to its full potential. I mean, he uses it to thaw out the ice he makes, but he doesn't use it on himself that much to prolong his work as a pro hero. It's more like he only uses it to thaw himself out if he absolutely has to, instead of using it regularly to stop himself from freezing up. If he just used both of them more regularly, he could really do more amazing things," Izuku answered. "How could he? That's his father's quirk. He mentioned it before, and from the many news outlets, he shows disdain for his father. So why would he use his quirk if he doesn't like his father?" the stranger asked in confusion with a slightly bitter tone to his voice. Izuku laughed shortly and replied, "I know, who wouldn't hate Endeavor? He is a burning trash bag dick." The man let out a snort at that. But his dad shouldn't stop him from using his fire side. "Why not? It's the old man's quirk after all," the man responded begrudgingly. "What? No, it isn't. Shouto's quirk is his own power. His fire is his own to use, not anyone else's. It's his quirk, not his father's. His quirk isn't Hellflame, his quirk is half cold, half hot," Izuku explained in confidence. "Do you get what I mean?" The man grew silent. Izuku turned around to clean a napkin off the nearby table before he heard the man curse. He turned back around to see the man patting down his left arm. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm better now. Thanks to you," the stranger responded with an oddly serene tone. Izuku shrugged it off while the man stood from his chair. "I guess I better get going to work. I have an afternoon shift to get ready for. I'll see you later, Midoriya." The man walked off. "Wait, hold up. I didn't get your name," Izuku stated to the retreating back of the stranger. "You will find out soon enough," they answered before closing the door to the cafe, leaving Izuku to question whatever just happened. Down the street, the man pulled off the glasses to reveal heterochromatic eyes. Their scar on the left side only half shown since the face mask obscured the bottom half. He will have to come to visit for another coffee when he has the time. Izuku was tired of his cashier job. He groaned before crashing face first in his bed, his face being cushioned by a fluffy dragon plushie his mom had sewn for him when he went off for college. Thankfully, he hadn't seen Bakugo that day, but he had a feeling that he won't leave him alone anytime soon. His phone buzzed when he just started to get comfortable. He sighed before picking it up to see who had messaged him at 10:00 at night. Unknown number, "Hey Izuku." "What, who the hell?" "Unknown number, be a hero, do it." "That little bitch, how the hell did he get my number?" "Wait, isn't it past his set curfew?" Team convincing, added a new member. Boom Boom Hands, "Hey Izuku." Boom Boom Hands. "You know, being a hero will bring so much more joy than whatever the fuck you are doing now." Boom Boom Hands. "A lot of pros to being a hero. Number 1 pro, not having to work as a cashier at some crummy-ass store." Boom Boom Hands. "I mean there are cons too, but don't think too much about those." Boom Boom Hands. "I know you have the potential to be a hero. I've seen it when you smile despite getting hurt." Boom Boom Hands. "Okay, bad example." Izuku ignored the multiple pings of his phone, while he was researching more piercings to get to piss off the Karens even more. Ooh, a tongue piercing sounds nice, and it could be like his finishing move. While the manager deals with them, I'll stick out my tongue and watch their face just envelope with disbelief and anger. He snickered to himself. "Oh, that will be good. If I have enough time, I could probably set up an appointment during a weekend or something." He glanced at the clock before groaning. Work," Izuku moaned out before hastily getting dressed. He buttoned up the last top button because it was required, then looked himself in the mirror. He gazed at his bathroom mirror to his bedhead and his nose piercing shining in the mirror's light. "Good enough," Izuku stated at the current poofy state of his hair. He has long since given up on tamming the wild curls that grow into a bush on his head. And off he went to his first job of the day. Time to be a barista. "What kind of establishment is this? I need to speak to your manager," a mother of 2 asked angrily. Izuku just said no if her kids could have a free sample of the cookies. "This is a coffee shop with pretty expensive cookies," he thought to himself, grumbling as he went to get his manager for the second time that morning. "This isn't a fucking ice cream shop, Karen. You can't sample what you want, and I know that you are just trying to get your kids to shut up." "Hey, boss," Izuku greeted nonchalantly to his superior, Yano. "I heard from the back about what is going on. I'll have this over in a minute," Yano said professionally before mumbling to him, "Fucking Karens." Yano was an actual good boss. She listened to her employees' side of the story first before heading to deal with problematic customers. She didn't order people around. She asked if anyone was busy before asking someone to do something. She never ordered Izuku to take out his nose piercing. Yano took care of Karen with a simple, polite, "I'm sorry. We don't offer free samples, but the ice cream shop across the street is open. They have a wide selection for your kids to enjoy." Successfully, Karen left with a grimace as her excited 2 kids started chanting, "Ice cream, ice cream." Yano breathed out heavily before turning to Izuku. "You just let me know if any more show up. I mastered it down to a certain technique." Thanks, Ayano-san. Izuku smiled before taking back his position at the cash register. With no more Karens to deal with, his shift ended pretty easily. He said goodbye to his boss before heading out. But while he was walking out the door, he ran into someone familiar. "Hello, Midoriya-kun," the disguised stranger greeted. "Hey, nice to see you again. Just got off, so if you wanted the coffee from yesterday, I can't give it to you," Midoriya replied, awkwardly gesturing with his hands. The stranger blinked behind their tinted glasses. "Oh, well, that's too bad, but I didn't come for the drink." "Oh, then what?" "I came here to say thanks," the stranger said. Izuku tilted his head. "For what?" The stranger smiled and took off their sunglasses, revealing a face that anyone could recognize. The pro-hero, Shoto, bowed in front of him. When he rose back up, he winked at him. Midoriya's eyes widened as he realized that he talked about the Shoto with the pro-hero himself. Izuku stood frozen as he responded with, "Thanks for making me see that my quirk is my own. I'm very grateful for that. You are my own hero." Shoto waved his hand before putting back on his sunglasses and continuing in his way. Izuku gaped at where Shoto went with a dumbfounded look on his face. "What the fuck?" he whispered to himself. "Maybe I can get one before the weekend. No, I am covering another shift at the coffee shop. The piercing shop I got my nose done is available during the whole week, but I would have to double-check my work schedule. I think I can set up an appointment by the end of this month," Izuku thought as he swept up the floor of the small grocery store. The doorbell rang, and when Izuku went to greet the person, he saw who it was and decided not to. "Hey, why have you been answering my texts? I figured it would be less annoying considering you wouldn't have to listen to me talk and convince you," Katsuki said with the remainder of his eyeliner on his eyes from the hastily changed appearance. He was dressed casually, so he must have just come back from his patrol. "Bold of you to assume that I would want to listen to you in general," Izuku replied back while sweeping along the canned food aisle. "How the hell do you get my number anyway?" "Called in a favor with the old hag. Now come on, I'm trying to make you see what I see. I'm trying here," Bakugo groaned out while gesturing with his head towards the part-time worker. "Well, don't try anymore. I don't want to hear it from you," Izuku responded with a snappy tone, looking back at the pro-hero with fire in his eyes. You probably think I don't know how to explain it to you. You made it into UA, didn't you?" Bakugo stumbled over his words while trying to calm his annoyance at himself. Izuku looked up and responded deadpan, "Yeah, but they pushed me right into general education. Thanks for bringing it up." "No, that isn't what I meant to do." "Pretty sure it was," Izuku argued back sassily. Look. My whole class and my homeroom teacher stood up and said that we didn't think that you deserved to be in general education," Bakugo replied. "Wow, yeah, really makes me feel better, thanks," Izuku thanked sarcastically. "I don't belong in the hero course or general education in UA, nice to know." "No, it's because we knew you belonged in the hero course," Bakugo argued back before falling silent and running his hand down his face. "You got enough points to get in, so it wasn't fair to you." Izuku didn't reply. "Come on, you can be a hero," Bakugo commented, trying to keep his voice even while he moved to stand in front of Izuku. "No, bitch, now move over so I can clean up this spot. Also, fuck you," Izuku retorted with a broom in his hand. "Just get out of here and don't text me." After that, Bakugo got kicked out again. What am I doing wrong?" Bakugo groaned as he kicked a stray can. "Easiest question to answer," a voice said from behind him. Bakugo rolled his eyes as he recognized the monotone voice that annoyed him since high school. Bakugo breathed out with annoyance. "Well, what is it, icy hot bastard?" "You are being yourself. Stop and get some help," Shoto replied before getting a harsh shove from Bakugo. "Fuck you, Poland flag," Bakugo responded while Shoto silently laughed at his face. What are you trying to do with Midoriya anyway? Shodo asked, folding his glasses into the neckline of his shirt. Wait, how do you know him? Bakugo questioned with a shocked expression. Shodo shrugged. I met him at the coffee shop. What about you? Bakugo looked up at the night sky as the two walked next to each other. He was my first and only childhood friend. Yeah, he was kind of my hero. He could actually be a good one, if only you were actually good at convincing. Sho replied with a slightly mocking tone to his voice, before he froze and looked at Bakugo. Wait, why do you want him to be a hero? I know he can become one since he has a talent for it. Bakugo stated to his old classmate. Shodo shrugged. He got rid of my daddy issues and inspired me to use my fire since it's my power. It was really cool, actually. Shit, really? Bakugo asked in disbelief. Yep, Shodo replied, popping the pea. I didn't think of my quirk as my own until he explained it in such a simple way. Bakugo chuckled darkly and glared at him. You little bitch. You didn't use your fire on me, but when Izuku says it's yours, all of a sudden you are a flamethrower. I'm an eternal flame, baby, Shodo said deadpan with wide eyes directed at him. Don't ever do that again. You are becoming Kaminari slowly with the time you spent with him. Bakugo complained while Shodo chuckled at his annoyed face. Let me help you in your quest to convince Izuku, Shodo offered. He helped me see something in myself that I didn't see before, and I want to return the favor. I'll provide it encouragingly with small talk here and there. But you might need to fix up how you bring it up to him, instead of acting the way you do now. Fine, welcome aboard, Bakugo sighed in acceptance. Great, now let's get dinner, I'm famished. Shodo clapped his hands before leading the way to a great dinner place near where they were. What the fuck? Bakugo responded to Shodo in utter confusion as to why the hell he would invite him to dinner in the first place. I'll get you extra spicy curry while we talk over the details, Shodo offered. Fine, but I'm not paying, Bakugo replied before leading the way to the nearest restaurant. I wouldn't expect you to, Shodo smiled as he walked behind his old rival. Why the hell are you three here? Izuku was tired. This week has been a mess. He hoped that once he got to his job driving Betsy, he would at least relax. But nope, the universe hates him. At least he got to schedule his piercing appointment for next week in the midst of all the chaos. For the last job of the night, he had to drive two ladies that looked very similar. Actually very familiar, especially the one with the brown hair. He didn't want to dig into their lives when he was supposed to be driving at night in Japan. And well, the brunette wasn't looking very good. The girl appeared to have had a few drinks that weren't kid-friendly. The green-haired woman introduced the two as Uraraka and Tsuyu. I think I know you, Uraraka slurred from Tsuyu's shoulder. Izuku looked back over his shoulder. His eyes widened when he saw those little pink cheeks like the ones he saw on that girl. Nah, they can't be her. I can't help you there. Uraraka opened her eyes before calling her hands at her revelation. Oh yeah, broccoli boy, entrance exam. Bitch, you saved me. Tsuyu replied in honor of her drunk friend. Sorry, Kiro, she had a rough day at work. Sweetie, don't harass the poor guy. Not a citizen, it's a broccoli boy. Small boy with the freckles, looks like watermelon-strawberry combination if he blushed. Uraraka argued, slapping Tsuyu's hands away from her and gesturing exaggeratedly at him. Why is this happening to me? Izuku complained, mumbled to himself from behind the wheel. It was that girl. And from the familiarity to the floating hero, Uravity, it looks like she was able to make it. He smiled, remembering the kind gesture of her saving him from falling. I'm happy that she got to be a hero. I'm sorry for my close friend here, Kiro. Tsuyu apologized as Uraraka quietly mumbled to herself about how she knew that he was the boy who saved her at the entrance exam for UA. No, I swear, see, from my bottom to my heart, it's the guy, Uraraka said to her very loudly. She then stopped herself, seeming to remember something. Uraraka looked at him and added, "Oh shit. Right. I tried to give you some of my points because I wanted you to her in the hero course with me. You deserved it because you were the only one to try to help me. You got me out of the way very heroically. You the best man." Izuku was trying to hide his blush in his collar under the drunken rambles of the girl who saved him from tripping all those years ago. Thank you." Uraraka gasped exaggeratedly. She turned back to look at Tsuyu with a drunken smirk. "See, I told you it's the guy." Tsuyu looked at her best friend very deadpanned, or he could just going along with what you are saying. Then Tsuyu looked at the Uber driver's reddening face. "Wait, are you actually the person who saved her life? If you are, then thank you. I wouldn't have one of my best friends without you." "Oh, no need to thank me. I'm sure the exam robots wouldn't have let her get hurt anyways. Plus, I didn't do much." Izuku wildly waved with his hands as he explained. "You were the only one who moved to her while she was in danger. That takes a lot of guts. I'm very thankful for what you did, Kiro." Tsuyu smiled kindly at Midoriya through the mirror. "Thanks, that means a lot more than you know," Midoriya said, rather surprised at himself for saying that. He was thankful that they believed in him, but he didn't know what to think right now. If he was so good, then why wasn't he let into the hero course then? Quirkless, he reminded himself bitterly. He sighed heavily to himself while the brunette giggled to her friend. "I told you so. It's awesome, broccoli hero boy." Izuku rolled his eyes before saying, "I'm nothing compared to you, Uraraka-san. Your work as a rescue hero really helps more than I could ever do. And your kick-butt skills in martial arts really boost your fighting ability. And Froppy, you are so great when you dealer with that tsunami villain. You two are great heroes." Uraraka seemed to sober up happily at the complimentary words, as Tsuyu blushed slightly under the praise. "Thank you, Kiro," Tsuyu ribeted. The rest of their drive was filled with the chatter of Izuku commenting on their great strategies dealing with villains, and even his own advice towards their quirk usage. Safe to say, Izuku left with a tip and the girls were left at their destination. Later, when they were both in pajamas, they looked at each other. Uraraka commented, "He is a good hero, isn't he? I mean, he saved my life." "Yeah, he would be a great hero, Kiro," Tsuyu replied before going to sleep. The next day at work, Shoto was sitting at his desk in his office working on paperwork for one of the buildings destroyed in the last villain attack. Shoto was worried that it might be linked to the last of the League of Villains. He was working on raising money for the families that were left temporarily homeless until they could rebuild. Since their numbers were lessened, the League was considerably silent as they tried to build up more strength. The League has the chance to grow even bigger with the meta-liberation before Hawks exposed the army, causing many strong members to fall. Any members that weren't taken joined the League to escape prison. Even now, the League was still trying to escape from their clutches even as they lost members along the way. Shoto gritted his teeth as he gave a glance at Dabai's file that he kept a copy of in his personal office. The League can wait, as he dealt with the damage that they caused. Just then, Uravity walked in with Froppy on her tail. Shoto softened his eyes in the reaction to seeing his friends instead of some unprofessional people he had to deal with recently in the office. Shoto greeted warmly, "Hello, good afternoon, what brings you two here?" "We just wanted to stop by and say hello while we drop off some forms from the recent attack at Kyoto," Uraraka said before plopping down on the chair across from his desk. "Oh, thank you," Shoto responded gently, going through the forms from Uraraka. Tsuyu shook her head, remembering the time a few days ago. She sat down right next to her tired friend. She worked so hard trying out everything together last Saturday. Poor thing drank so much that night, Kiro. "But I met the guy who saved me at the entrance exam back in our UA days, so not a total bust if a day. Plus, he was so nice," Uraraka commented loudly. She peeled through the documents on Shoto's desk absent-mindedly as she talked. Tsuyu nodded kindly. Yeah, he sure was a hero for saving you. I know, I just wished he would have become a hero with us. Uraraka mumbled as she put her head in her hands. Who is the guy you are talking about? Shoto asked offhandedly, running through his papers decisively. Oh, our driver's name was, I think, Midoriya. Tsuyu retorted with her finger in her chin. Shoto froze with a paper in his hand. He set it down carefully before slowly turned to her with his eyes widened. His name is Midoriya. Uraraka looked back at Tsuyu before staring back at him. Yeah, why? Shoto put a pen to his mouth in thought. He twiddled the one in his hand for a monet before turning the point to them. Do you think he has the ability to become a hero? He saved me when no one else even considered giving me a second glance back at the entrance exam. Of course, Uraraka answered confidently. Tsuyu looked from her friend to Shoto and replied, he saved my best friend Kiro. That is reason enough to at least be called one. It was a shame that he wasn't accepted into the hero course. He would have made a great teammate. I see. Come with me, Shoto said with an unnerving grin, leading the ladies out his office door. The documents could wait a bit longer. He can always work later into the night if needed. Wait a minute, Kiro. Tsuyu started putting her fingers to her temple in thought. What the fuck aren't you getting? Bakugo questioned. Tsuyu waited a moment before asking, so, you want Midoriya to become a hero? Yes, Bakugo agreed loudly. Then why the hell are you doing it that way? Uraraka argued back. Look at it from his side. Your childhood friend turned bully who became a hero even though you couldn't shows up out of nowhere and starts bothering you at your work to become a hero. Shoto threw his hands up exaggeratedly. That's what I told him. Shut up, peppermint wannabe, Bakugo angrily mumbled towards Shoto. What are you four doing? Why are you all focused on a civilian when you should be focusing on work? Iida asked, furrowing his brows in concern if his friends falling behind in their work. Shoto started off calmly, look, we have a good reason. Iida raised his brow in return, and that reason is Midoriya, the four replied simultaneously. Who the name is familiar, and why exactly? Iida questioned. Because he is the one who saved me at the entrance exam, Uraraka yelled out to Iida. Shoto replied deadpan to his serious mom friend. He basically ignited the eternal flames on my left side. Fucking candy cane, I swear to fuck, Bakugo started complaining before getting interrupted. Uraraka held up a hand to cover Bakugo's mouth as she explained. He is very good with analysis about what we could do better about our jobs from what we heard in our short car drive. He has the brain, and from what I caught a glimpse of, brawn to become a hero. What she said, Shoto nodded. Uraraka and he shared a high five before Bakugo pulled her hand off of his face. I can't believe it. You know what? Let me see what is so special that you four have been neglecting your paperwork, Iida retorted as he rubbed at his temples. Shoto gave him directions to Izuku's job. Iida sighed and went on his way, but the four followed him. They watched Iida walk into the small store before the door closed shut behind him. The other four waited for a good distance away from the shop as their friend talked with Midoriya. Izuku greeted the dark navy-haired fellow walking in. Welcome. Hello there. Iida responded at the bright green-haired young adult behind the counter. What can I get for you? Nothing really. I'm just looking. Okay, let me know if you need anything. I'll be here, in the same spot that I have been in for hours. All right, Iida replied before taking in a deep breath. He had to question him to see what his friend saw in this stranger. Was this really the one that saved Uraraka that day? The one who he silently respected for doing what he hadn't even thought of? I actually am looking for something, Iida started. Just need your input on something. Okay, Izuku responded with a brow raised. What do you think about the original Ingenium? Iida questioned the boy behind the counter. Izuku's eyes widened at the sudden question before gathering himself. Well, I think he is a great hero. Ever since I was little I respected him. After the whole Stain incident, which was kind of bullshit by the way, I gained even more respect for him. Even if he retired early, he did so many good things. He went to hospitals to see sick children. He helped fund several disabilities foundations and even started his own charity to help people with disabilities. I think he is a very respectable hero. Iida stood in silence before nodding slowly. Thank you. He gave Izuku a low bow in respect and then briskly ran out the door. Izuku stared after him as he watched the tall man run into the night. That was a little weird, Izuku stated offhandedly. So, Bakugo asked the red-faced Iida. I get it now, Iida said in response. Eraserhead is about to kick some ass. While Izuku wasn't having fun with Bakugo, 4 friends were waiting to have fun with him. They all were seated on the long couch in Kirishima's apartment, wondering where their friend was. It was morning movie time. Where was he? He usually comes and says that he has never better to do, but they haven't seen him in a while. Where is all Bakugo nowadays? Kaminari asked, taking a handful of popcorn from the table in front of the couch. He liked that it was leather, it was cool to the touch. I don't really know. Zero started off while trying to focus on the screen playing a cartoon show made for kids. The last thing I heard from him was about how he was going to see an old friend and change their mind about something. Boring, Mina exclaimed. Her expression looked very untrusting of the reason said, how is he going to do that? Why do you say that? Kirishima asked his friend, still trying to choose tonight's action movie between the 2 DVDs in his hands. His spiky red hair pulled back into a bandana. Mina rolled her eyes, trying to jog the memory of her friends and how exactly Bakugo acts. Oh, please. Are you going to tell me that Bakugo can actually hold up a conversation on his end, just enough to convince someone in a non-threatening way? The other 3 stared at each other before realizing with a nod. Zero spoke up with a sigh, you're right, he has no clue. Yeah, we should probably go find him and help him, Kirishima offered. I was thinking more of embarrassing him, but that works too, Kaminari said while trying to take the large popcorn bowl with him. I can't believe you took the popcorn bowl. Mina yelled to Kaminari while they all sneakily walked over to where Bakugo would be. I was hungry, Kaminari responded between licking his fingers from the buttery goodness. The Baka squad squat behind some bushes, a good distance away from the store that Bakugo's old friend apparently worked at. So what's the plan? Zero asked, hiding behind a tree to spy on the shop. I have no idea, Kaminari added, trying to eat popcorn quietly. It didn't work out since they could still hear the loud crunching of the popped kernels. I think we should just wait for Bakugo to show up and see how well he does with his smooth talking, Mina said, bending down to hide her horns behind the bush. The tips of her horns were barely noticeable behind the greenery. Yeah, maybe he isn't as bad as we thought. Maybe he doesn't need our help, Kirishima commented, earning doubtful looks from his other 3 friends. They watched the coffee shop as their friend approached an irritated-looking green-haired man that doesn't look to be in the mood for whatever the blonde had planned. Ooh, this is going to be bad. I can already tell, Mina whispered, getting ready to watch some shit go down. Kaminari, hand me some popcorn. Bakugo started to say something, but they could only catch words like hero and you. Whatever he was saying was really getting on the barista's nerves. I think I know him from somewhere, Kaminari whispered amongst the multiple popped kernels in his mouth. Mina turned her head while she kept chewing on the popcorn she stole from Kaminari's bowl. Me too, but I don't know where, Kirishima mumbled to himself. The green-haired guy berated Bakugo in an angry voice before stomping off with a middle finger aimed at their friend. Bakugo stood there before grunting and turning around back down the street. He looked like he was pissed off as his legs stomped on the cement. God, he fucking needs help, Mina groaned out. Yeah, Zero agreed, scratching at his cheek. Wait, is that Shoto? Kaminari asked, pointing out Bakugo walking away. The others looked down to see Shoto appear from an alleyway in sunglasses. What the sh? Is he ditching us? Kirishima asked very loudly. They watched as Bakugo started talking, gesturing widely with his hands in the direction the other guy went. Iida, Uraraka, and Tsuyu appeared from the alleyway as well. Is he replacing us? Zero asked, tilted his head. He isn't getting a new squad of friends right. To hell with this, Kirishima stated, standing up from his kneeled position. What are you doing? Kaminari asked, almost choking on the last of the kernels. I'm going up to them. What does it look like? Kirishima called back to them as he walked straight to his best friend. The other three started following Kirishima as he made his way fast towards their former classmates. Kaminari held the empty bowl in front of his chest like a pseudo-shield as they approached. What is our next course of action? Iida questioned to his friends. The regular approaches seem to be doing more harm than good. Hey Bakubro, what the fuck? Kirishima greeted happily despite the confusion hiding behind his voice. Huh? Bakugo asked, confused as to why Kirishima and the rest of his old friends were there. You have been missing movie morning. What's up with you? You never hang out anymore, Kirishima asked as the other catches up to him. Bakugo's eyes widened. Oh hell, I forgot. Nice going, Bakugo Shoto stated, lowering his sunglasses to show his judgmental eyes. Kirishima, you have no need to worry. Iida tried to help out. Yeah, we are just trying to get Izuku to become a hero since he had always wanted to become one. But then stuff happened and Uraraka started, arms gesturing wildly in the air. We are just trying to get him to see the hero inside him, Tsuyu declared to the four. What if he doesn't want to be a hero? Are you guys just going to annoy him until he does? Mina asked. No, we won't, Shoto said simply. It's up to him on the matter, but we just wanted to show him that he could be one. If we fail, then we won't push the subject for longer than necessary. Bakugo shakes his head. Look, that nerd has always wanted to be a hero, but things kept happening. Shoto looked at him, which included you. Shut up, you Canadian flag. Yes, I was one of the main things that brought down his dream, and I feel bad for it, so I'm trying to make things right. And persuade him that it's not too late. Bakugo explained, uncharacteristically very honestly. 1. That's pretty manly of you, Kirishima started. 2. What happens if he is happy the way he is right now? Trust me, I was near him until middle school graduation. I may not have been the best of most of those years, but I know what he is hiding. He still wants to be one, he just doesn't think he can, Bakugo expressed. Which is pretty shit since he saved me, but Uraraka vocalized. Kaminari inquired. Wait, that's the guy you interrupted, right, class president? Yes, I feel bad for putting him on the spot like that. Iida responded, perking up his glasses up his nose. Oh, that's where I know him. He was in the entrance exam. Wait, doesn't that mean that he didn't get in? Kaminari asked. No, he got in, but they made him go to general education, Kiro, Tsuyu declared. Wait, he's the guy who was supposed to be our classmate, Kaminari questioned. Yeah, Uraraka nodded. Kaminari whistled. Oh shit, dude. I was wondering what might have happened to him. I just thought he went to a different hero school or something. Do you need some more help to your cause? Zero questioned, stepping forward. I feel like you could use some outside help. Please, Shoto pleaded, looking pointedly at Bakugo. He needs all the help he can get. Fuck off, popsicle bitch. Izuku sighed, running his hands down his face. He was so tired of this shit. He can't wait until he can get a full-time job so he can stop dealing with Karen and Helen copies each and every day. He collapsed on a nearby metal bench in the middle of the park before he went home. Izuku enjoyed a peaceful moment to himself as he looked at the sunlight bouncing off a small pond. He knew his cashier job was soon, but a moment in the park was what he needed. Had a rough day, a deep voice said from the left of him. He turned to see a strangely familiar face sitting next to him on the bench. Izuku chuckled. You won't believe how much shit the day has been. The man in response softly chuckled in response to him. I have been through my own hellish days. I understand where you might be coming from. Izuku raised his brow, remembering that voice from somewhere. Hey, don't I know you? You saved my cat a while back. My name is Aizawa Shouta. It's nice to see you again, kid. Nice to see you officially. My name is Midoriya Izuku. How is your cat, by the way? Have they got stuck in any more trees? They caught up with each other. Izuku accidentally slipped up while he was talking to the man about his old friend, trying to convince him to become a hero. Why are you so upset at him wanting you to be a hero? Aizawa inquired. Izuku breathed out. It's complicated. I tried once to be a hero. It didn't work out that well. What happened? Aizawa requested. Izuku paused. Do you actually want to hear it? Lay it on me, I have nothing to do, Aizawa shrugged. I actually met my hero on the worst day of my life, Izuku began. I was told to jump off the roof for a chance to get a quirk in the next life by a childhood friend that day. Before that, he had set my notebook, which was basically my dream of being a hero, on fire, then threw it out the window. After he went with his little groupies, I took a shortcut home with my damaged notebook in my hands. I got jumped on by a sludge villain who tried to force their way inside my body, not letting me breathe. At that point, I legitimately thought I was just going to die. And guess who saved me? All Might. Can you believe it? Aizawa sat silent, as Izuku took a deep breath before continuing his story. When I woke up, he had already signed my notebook, but before he left, I wanted to take a last chance at my dream. I asked him if it was even possible for someone like me to become a hero. He didn't talk for a while, staring down at me with the same expression everyone has given me when I tell them I want to be a hero. Izuku paused in the middle of his rant. He said no. Isn't it disappointing that I was actually hoping he would say something else? Like I was waiting for him to actually encourage Home to follow my dreams. He suggested that I become someone like a police officer or firefighter before taking off into the sky with the villain in his pocket. Izuku laughed bitterly at himself under the watch of the scraggly black-haired man, but I still tried even though everyone seemed to be against me. I tried to prove them wrong by going to UA, but I was forced to be in general education, even if I had enough points to make it into the hero course. They even included in the letter that it would be unwise for someone like me to be in the hero course because of the danger. After that, the shards of my dream were discarded to the very back of my mind. I didn't want to be reminded of my failed attempt by going to that school, so I picked a cheap school that was in the area. Now I'm living with multiple jobs, a degree in journalism and sarcasm. Is that your new dream? Aizawa questioned him, noticing the look in Izuku's eyes. It's the closest I can get to comfortable living with myself, Izuku vocalized. It was the only dream I can afford to have. Will you be happy? Aizawa asked, looking him right in the eyes. Izuku smiled weakly. Maybe one day I will be. Aizawa sighed. Would you believe me if I told you something? Yeah, sure, you seem like an honest person, plus you listened to my story, so why not? Izuku smiled warmly. I'm a homeroom teacher for UA. I taught Class 1A, the infamous hero class. I was there when I saw you compete in the exam. I saw great potential in you, and I still do. I actually wanted you to be in my class so I could help you out. No matter if you made it in or not, I still think that you have a great potential to become a hero, Aizawa stated. Thank you. You probably have no idea how much that actually means to me, especially from you. Eraserhead. Izuku smirked at the surprised look on Aizawa. What? Aizawa asked, very surprised. I guessed from the moment I saw you again, and the publicity from UA helped me as well. If it means anything to you, you are one of my ultimate favorites, and to know that you believe in me, even back then. Thank you so much, Izuku replied. his voice getting shaky from the small tears escaping from his eyes. There was a silent moment between the two as Izuku cried softly, wiping away his tears as they came down. Eraserhead extended his hand to ease the young man from his sadness, rubbing his back as he calmed down. "So, what exactly did All Might say to you?" Aizawa asked, rubbing his hand on Izuku's back. Izuku laughed before telling the underground hero what exactly went down in detail. "Why is Eraserhead late for class?" All Might asks Present Mike. Present Mike looks from his phone back to Toshinori and started to laugh happily. "You finna die, bitch." Present Mike replied to an utterly confused Toshinori before everyone in the faculty room heard the thud of the door banging open. The force of the hit caused one of the hinges to break, making a really bad sound. "Toshinori, Yagi." Eraserhead started breathing heavily, staring right into the soul of the former pro hero. "Oh shit," Toshinori said before starting to break into a sprint. Present Mike bent over in laughter as Shouta started to chase after the blonde-haired skeleton. "You will be missed. Rest in peace," Hisashi said, looking back at the angry text that Shouta sent him. "It's nice that he met that boy again. He always saw potential in that kid when no one else would." Yagi screamed, tripping over his feet as he ran away from the dangerous-looking underground pro hero. "Oh fuck. Get back here, you little blonde Jack Skellington wannabe bitch," Eraserhead screeched as he jumped on the blonde man in the middle of sprinting. Present Mike barked out laughing when he heard the short scream that the retired pro hero let out before he crumpled the ground. He should feel bad. But for right now, he wished he had popcorn for the fight that was about to happen. Leave him alone for now. Izuku didn't know why Bakugo even bothered at this point. He can admit that he has been getting less horrible at his convincing by actually listening to him, but it won't stop him from making a decision without his help. He sighed, tired after counting all the money in the cash register in the little grocery store. It was so slow. Nobody showed up for the last hour. The little old lady who runs the shop gave him the go-ahead to close up early whenever he wants to since there seemed to be no business for tonight. He will eternally be grateful that such a sweet old lady exists. She is nothing like the old ladies that want to speak to his manager about how he was too slow in making their extremely complex coffee. She just wanted to show off her grandchildren with the pictures she has everywhere in her little office. She was so nice. But to worsen his mood, he heard someone knock on the door outside. He furrowed his brow before looking up to find a familiar face waiting behind the door. Well, not so familiar with bruises all over his skin. "All Might," Izuku whispered to himself, doubting that the frail man covered in bruises was actually the man who destroyed his dreams all those years ago. The tall man waved at him awkwardly through the glass. His blonde hair seemed to be very tangled at the ends. His eyes looked very tired. Well, one of them at least. The other was starting to grow a black eye around it. His arm seemed to also be in a strong cast. Izuku was too tired to deal with this, but he has to go away for him to close. So he approached the dream crusher behind the glass. "Hey, store's closed, Small Might." "Yes, well, All Might started to say. "What happened to your face?" Izuku said abruptly. All Might blushed in embarrassment. "I got a lesson taught to me recently by a coworker." "Why, thank you, Eraserhead. This is a sight to see." He did have to go so hard, though, he thought to himself, crossing his arms as he looked up at the taller man. "What are you doing here?" Izuku questions. All Might took a deep breath in. "I've come here to do something I should have done a long time ago. I'm sorry." Izuku wrinkled his nose. "I don't need your pity." The older hero shook his head. "It's not pity. Ever since I said that to you, I've been regretting what I said and how I put it." Izuku stayed silent, waiting to see how this little talk will go. "The choice to say that to you was the worst decision I have ever made. As soon as I said it, I regretted it. Seeing the hope fade in a young boy's eyes is not an easy sight. But then I saw you at the entrance exams. You did so well. I was hoping for you to follow your dreams there. But then the others didn't want you to follow that hope and put you in general education. I didn't even know what to say at that point. But believe me that the thought of not giving you a chance plagued me throughout the years. I sincerely think that if you tried your very best you could be a hero to anyone. I apologize for what I said to you. I hope you can forgive me. Izuku looked up at the sad blue eyes of his old idol. Okay, I accept your apology. Now get back home and fix up your face, it looks bad. Thank you, young Midoriya. Have a good day, All Might said, walking away with a slight limp. Izuku didn't even know if he was being serious, but it was nice that he actually came to apologize. Izuku hesitantly smiled as he went back to his small apartment with some help from Betsy. Izuku actually got to close up shop early the next night since there was no one to bother him. He really wondered about what All Might had said the other day. He kept thinking, does he really mean it or was it the beating that made him say it? Did he actually feel bad? Did he really agree on me being a hero now? Izuku was so confused about his feelings. Conflicting thoughts filled his head ever since. Hey, a familiar voice that plagued his day shouted out to him. Bakugo showed up. What is it now? Izuku asked, already dreading what he knew the other was going to say. Look, I'm just saying that I have been doing some research. Why can't you stop already? Bakugo started off. Technically, there is a way for people who work hard to become a hero even though they didn't have the same training as others. The same training that I could have been a part of if I had a quirk in the first place. Izuku thought bitterly about himself, causing more insecure thoughts to flood in. Bakugo didn't sense any of the angry vibes Izuku was pulsating. He continued, so, I've been thinking. That is very dangerous, Izuku commented dryly. Look, I'm trying to help. What is your problem? Izuku clenched his teeth, fists shaking out of hatred. He didn't want to be reminded of his hopeless past dream. Why can't everyone just move on? Why can't he just move on? I'm trying to help you be a hero. Shut you fucking Pomeranian, I don't care. Izuku finally yelled at the persisting Bakugo. At a safe distance away, Shoto dropped his jaw in shock at seeing Izuku yell even louder than Bakugo. Oh, my God. He stayed behind the wall in the alleyway with the rest of the Deku Needs to Be a Hero squad. He didn't know what to think of the sudden turn around. Ida leaned back with a hand to his chest in an appalled form. Uraraka really wanted to start laughing at Bakugo's surprised face, but Tsuyu's hand was blocking her mouth from emitting a sound. Kirishima was desperately trying to quiet Mina and Kaminari from laughing at their friend's dumbfounded face. And Bakugo, for once in his life, shut his mouth. Smart choice, Shoto thought, watching as the irritated Izuku approached him silently. Bakugo didn't know what to do when he watched his childhood friend walk towards him angrily. But what he wasn't expecting a slap to the face. Shiro commented, oh damn, I heard the slap from all the way over here. He put some real power behind that hit. It reminds me of the time Hagakure slapped Kaminari that one time. She really packed a punch. I didn't see it coming, Kaminari commented. I don't have time for this, any of this. I don't want to hear anything from you. Izuku started off, taking heavy breaths in between his words. What gives you the fucking right to say anything to me in the first place regarding the whole hero thing? Why are you trying to reconcile this after so many years, huh? What are you getting out of this? Tell me. Bakugo remained silent, staring hard at Izuku as he took a deep breath. Red eyes met the furious gaze of Izuku's green eyes. And now after all this time you come to me and bother me almost every single day. You come here saying that you are trying to help. You were the one that told me to give it up as soon as I told you that I was quirkless. You were the one that everyone loved to praise while I was the one getting beaten up. You were the one who bullied me into being an insecure little doormat all my life. You were. Izuku paused, looking up blankly. His hate-filled voice replaced with sadness. I used to look up to you. That's all I did. I followed you everywhere you go because I was your friend. I wanted to be just like you, strong and confident in yourself. I wanted us to be heroes together. Izuku's eyes threatened to fall with frustrated tears. I tried everything I could to get a quirk just so you would like me again. Just so I can get back the friendship we used to have. But you treated me worse than the gum at the bottom of your shoe. I was just a training dummy for you to practice your new moves on. It's too late for you to do anything so. Just leave me alone. Izuku, Bakugo tried to say. Leave me alone. Izuku stated to him coldly, eyes burning straight hatred into his soul. Bakugo relented, walking away from Izuku. So Bakugo, Shoto states, teasingly as the explosive pro-hero walks up to the alleyway. Do you mind telling us what that was about? Izuku packed a lot of heat behind that punch. Bakugo pauses to answer before shaking his head and continuing past him. I am trying to right my wrongs and correct my mistakes from the past. I just want us to be on better terms. But he won't let me. Maybe we have to go about this a different way, Iida suggested, trying to gather the group together into a healthy discussion. Mina nodded happily. Yeah, next time, after Izuku cools down. Let us all approach him more lightly than what Bakugo has been doing. Yeah, we need to introduce more ways to him than just pushing the hero thing in his face, Tsuyu retorted. No offense. Bakugo grimaced, some taken but you're right. Uraraka paused before looking at her old classmate. Have you ever apologized for what you did wrong in the past to him? Bakugo started but blanked out. Did he apologize? He could have sworn that he did. Wait, did he? I don't know. The others looked at each other before looking at him. Kirishima stepped forward to give his best bro the best advice he could give. Dude, you need to apologize before you try to do anything else. That is like the most important thing you need to do instead of what you have been doing up until now. Bakugo looked up into his friend's eyes and nodded. He begrudgingly agreed that he had to say sorry for what he has actually done first, and he needs to do it in the best way before he lost him. Hopefully, he hasn't lost the chance yet. Thinking over life. 7 shots of caramel. That's what Izuku put in his coffee that morning when he came to work. Safe to say, the caffeine running through his veins wasn't going away anytime soon, and it was worth it. Izuku has had a lot of time to think since Bakugo hasn't retried anything for about 2 weeks. It set Izuku on edge since he didn't know when he would show up. If he ever did. For 2 weeks back to basically his old life before Bakugo came in, he had a lot of time to think, but he still doesn't know what to think of it. Bakugo kept trying to make him see himself as a hero, but he honestly doesn't know. How was he supposed to feel? Bakugo made his life miserable, so why does he keep thinking about what he said like his words even matter? Because deep down I still want to be a hero. Izuku's inner thoughts came to whisper in his ear. He shook his head to get rid of that unrelenting whisper of hope. No, he is fine. He doesn't need to be a hero. His life is perfectly normal now. Izuku tried to argue back to his inner thoughts. I don't need anything else. I'm happy with the way things are. I'm fine. Izuku was so close to making another 7-shot coffee to drown out the arguing thoughts that just overlap each other. Yano, his boss, saw the way Izuku was shaking near the coffee machine, utterly out of it. She winced when she saw the coffee cup he drank from. Geez, 7 shots of caramel. Hopefully this isn't an espresso, Ayano mumbled. When Izuku tried to continue with a simple order with his hands jittering, Ayano stepped in to stop him. Ayano offered, how about you go home for today? There are not that many people to deal with right now, and I think you need a little rest from the caffeine boost you have. What? No, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Why can I taste the air? I don't know. Izuku rambled, trying to lazily take the cup back from Ayano's hands. Yeah, go home for today, and maybe call the second job to stay home, Ayano softly ordered him. But I'm okay, Izuku argued back. Ayano furrowed her brow in worry. No, you are not. Midoriya, I can practically see you vibrating. Go home and rest. But Izuku started. But nothing. You deserve to rest for the day, and if you aren't feeling up to it, you don't have to come in tomorrow. Come back when you are feeling absolutely better than right now. Izuku tried to start only to receive a threatening look from Ayano. I understand, Ayano-san. Good, now go and relax, Ayano said, pushing him to the break room to take off his apron and check out. I'll deal with the rest. Izuku calmed himself inside the break room, taking off his apron. He signed out with his card with a frustrated frown. With a sigh, he locked up his locker and took the back entrance to go home. What was he supposed to feel? Izuku still felt the buzz of the earlier coffee in his system while he walked home. It wasn't that far of a walk, honestly, but his head was filled with thoughts. He was walking past an alleyway, unable to hear or see a figure running down the alleyway towards him. What am I supposed to think of this? When is he coming back? Will he be coming back anytime soon? Why does he keep ordering me to be a hero? When will he stop with that? Am I even? Give me your money, the mugger demanded, grabbing a hold of his arm tight. Izuku screamed, freaking out from the sudden appearance. He punches him straight in the face to knock him away. Ow the hell! The mugger complained with Izuku still on his caffeine high, making crazy decisions in the heat of the moment. Izuku yelled out, picking up a nearby broken metal pipe that was leaning against the dirty wall in the alley. Oh shit, the man said when he saw the pipe being swung at him. Izuku delivered a swift blow on the other side of the mugger's face, causing the mugger to slump back on the ground. Oh shit, Izuku remarked, holding the pipe in shock. He was currently staring at the knocked-out man sprawled on the alleyway ground. Oh shit, Mockingbird commented, purple eyes looking up to the newcomer that just knocked out his suspect. The underground hero jumped from their lookout point on a rooftop to softly land in the darkness of the alleyway spot. Didn't expect my suspect to be knocked out before I got to them. Nice job. Izuku responded, slowly lowering the pipe for it to fall to the ground with a loud clang. I'm very impressed with your pipe handling skill, Mockingbird chuckled, stepping out of the shadows to reveal himself fully. What's your name, Knockout? Midoriya, Izuku introduced himself, still slightly in shock from being able to knock someone unconscious. Hitoshi tilted his head. That name is familiar. Where did he hear it? Mockingbird extended a hand in a short wave. Well, I'm. You're Mockingbird, Izuku interrupted breathlessly. He arched a brow at Izuku. Oh, you know me. Izuku nodded. Yeah, you are my second favorite underground hero. Oh really? Who is your first one? Mockingbird asked curiously. Eraserhead, Izuku answered back. Understandable, have a nice day, Hitoshi replied, squinting his eyes once he realized who it was. He was the one kid Aizawa voted to get into the hero class, wasn't he? And didn't he punch All Might just for him? Wow, the guy must be really special. This guy would have been one of my classmates if society wasn't trash, huh? Hitoshi thought to himself. Mockingbird smirked at the shocked still Midoriya. Well, I already called the authorities to bring this guy in since he won't be moving anytime soon from that hit. They'll be here soon. Izuku mumbled, still not knowing what to say. Bye for now. I'll see you again soon, Midoriya-kun. Mockingbird said in farewell, zipping away with a grappling hook. He saluted to Izuku before he took off in a blink. Izuku just stood there at the opening of the alleyway, with a bewildered look on his face. What the fuck just happened? Izuku asked himself out loud. Was the whole thing a hallucination? The man on the ground groaned with pain as Izuku heard the faraway sounds of sirens. Izuku sighed, kicking the pipe away from the man. Nope, it wasn't a hallucination from the coffee. Yeah, he needs to get some rest. The undercount hero, Mockingbird, landed far away from the scene in an alleyway near a grocery store. He looked around when he heard a soda can roll across the ground of the alley. Psst, a voice whispered out to him. He lowered her guard slightly when he saw who it was. What? Hitoshi said dryly. Would you like to hear about our hero and precious cinnamon roll, Midoriya Izuku? Mina asked brightly. What? Hitoshi questioned, turning around to face the rest of the former classmates that appeared from behind Mina. Come on, dude, you already met him. I met him, yes, but what are you guys trying to get me to join? A cult? Hitoshi asked, gesturing a hand toward them. Well, not exactly a cult, more like a club of sorts, Kirishima retorted with a nervous smile. Nah, this is kind of a cult, Shiro deadpanned. Look, the point here is, you met Izuku, Shoto interjected, trying to get back on subject. Yeah, Shinso confirmed. Do you see any potential of him being a hero? Tenya asked, moving his arm up and down robotically. Well, yeah, didn't you see him knock out that guy with a pipe? It was, Hitoshi started to say. Manly as hell, Kirishima commented, a manly tear going down his face. We understand completely, Mina nodded. So what? Well, we are a sort of a Deku needs to be a hero club. Because he didn't get a chance years ago, so he deserves another one to prove himself, you know, Uraraka explained cheerfully. Oh my fucking god, just join. Bakugo complained, trying to get it over with. Bakugo, that isn't how you persuade new members to join, Shoto reprimanded him. Bakugo sneered at him. Shut up, you fucking airhead combination from hell. Shoto looked back at him smugly. Ooh, that's a new one, come up with that yourself. Screw you, Bakugo angrily replied. You fucking wish, Shoto whispered threateningly. Ahem. Hitoshi coughed to remind everyone that he was indeed still there. Anyway, we need new members to join us on our mission to make Izuku know that we are right there to help him on his hero's journey. Hero's journey, is it that thing we studied in English? Kaminari asked, bringing a finger to his chin in thought. Kaminari, no, that isn't what we are talking about, Shiro responded. Oh, Kaminari replied in a soft mumble. Will you join? Tsuyu asked. Sure, just so I can see him use a pipe like that again, Hitoshi shrugged. But I'm also a part of Aizawa's own support group for him. Wait, what? The others questioned almost at the exact same time. See ya, Mockingbird said, zipping away with his grappling hook again. Uraraka complained, shaking her fists at the sky like cartoon villain whose plans got spolied. Damn him and that grappling hook. You want one, don't you? Tsuyu asked honestly. Yeah, Uraraka replied sadly. It just looks so fun. I know, Tsuyu stated, hugging her friend to her side. I know. Is Izuku a model now? Izuku had taken some time to ride out the last bit of caffeine he had in his system that night he came home. Safe to say, he has gotten his rest. He even tried a face mask, which was very new to him. And now, he took off Sunday from Uber driving, only allowing himself to take some driving jobs during the late afternoon tonight on Saturday. In fact, his whole night was mostly calm. The customers he picked up weren't hungover or rude, they just wanted a quick ride. He was so thankful for that since he didn't have to deal with the whining that he dealt with at times. It was his last drive of the night, and he was going to pick up 2 people from the theater and drop them off at a hotel. Easy enough. Takami and Shoji stood outside the theater before entering Izuku's car. Shoji had on his face mask, while Takami had his scarf bunched up to cover the lower half of his face. Shoji wore a very oversized hoodie to hide his extra appendages, while Takami kept dark shadow at bay. Hello, you two. How is your night going? Izuku asked, trying to start an easygoing conversation for the short journey. Takami replied, Our night is going splendid. We saw a really good masterpiece for the last 3 hours. Izuku questioned, Oh, which masterpiece of the film? Phantom of the Opera, Shoji replied, checking out the driver sharing app ahead of time to pay him the tip when they get out. Ah, cool, I love Phantom, Izuku commented. He was my favorite character. Shoji looked on his phone when something about a description of green hair and freckles rung in his mind. He looked through the driver sharing app to look at his profile. Oh, your name is Midoriya Izuku. Izuku glanced back with the mirror. Ah, yes, why? Oh, nothing is wrong. I was just checking if I read it right, Shoji replied. Izuku raised a brow before shrugging. Takami glanced over to Izuku before realizing that this was the same guy that Aizawa is trying to support. And didn't their other classmates make their own group? Shinso told them about it before going off in his patrol. This was their classmate that deserved the chance but wasn't allowed to have one. It is lovely to meet you. I mean, lovely to have you as our transportation for the night. Takami stumbled on what he was trying to say. He wanted to be careful and not blow the whole, hey, we already know who you are because we are basically in a club about supporting you. Shoji said, what he means is you are very kind. Our other driver that we had once had only been rude to us. Well, that's not good. Rude passengers are one thing, but rude drivers, they are the worst. Izuku responded, slowing down once he saw the hotel. Shoji said, well, this is our stop. Thanks for the ride, Midoriya. You have my gratitude. Takami nodded, slowly getting out of the car. Izuku smiled cheerfully. No problem, have a good night, be safe, goodbye. Farewell, Takami responded, shutting the door behind him. Izuku drove off, heading home from his shift as the two friends walked into the hotel. They were staying at a hotel for a short time with their two friends, while Aoyama got everyone together for some kind of hero-inspired fashion line he was working on. After traveling 7 flights up by elevator, the two unlocked the door of 707 to be greeted by a lovely smell of freshly baked cookies. Hey guys, you were almost late for karaoke night, Sato said from the kitchen. I baked some chocolate chip and sugar cookies for the night. Koda waved at them while setting up the machine to the hotel television. You wouldn't guess who we just met, Shoji said. Sato asked, throwing a glance to the door as he prepared the warm cookies on a huge platter. Was it Ajiro? No, why would? Shoji got interrupted when he saw the tail out of the corner of his eye. Ajiro walked in calmly. Hey guys, I heard there was karaoke. Hey Ajiro, just in time. I invited him over just for the night because his day patrol tired his tail out too much, Sato said with a sheepish smile. That's fine, but we actually met Izuku, Shoji retorted. Sato asked, wait Izuku, the guy that Aizawa talks about. The guy who Aizawa beat up All Might for? Ajiro questioned from the couch, helping Koda figure out the wiring. Yes, he was our driver, Takami responded before Dark Shadow provided his own commentary. He looked exactly what Shinso has described, green hair and freckles. He kind of almost looked like a piece of broccoli. Well dang, small world huh? Ajiro asked, staring up at the ceiling thoughtfully. What are the chances of him being your driver? I heard that's how Uraraka and Tsuyu met him, Koda commented, giving his bunny friend a piece of carrot to snack on. What is this guy like? Sato questioned, making his way to the living room to set done cookie platter on the coffee table. Shoji responded, we hadn't known him for that long, but he was very nice. I'm curious to know what Aizawa understands about him. He must leave quite an impression since half the class is split into 2 groups on supporting him to give him a chance to become a hero, Ajiro added, looking through his playlist on what he should sing. Takami thought hard before replying. From what I understand, he didn't get a chance to prove himself in the past. But now, we are basically trying to give him a chance in the present to become a hero as he dreamed of. Cool, Ajiro said before furrowing his brow. Does he know about any of this? Like, how almost 20 heroes are behind him to support his dream? Takami and Shoji looked at each other before saying, nope. Yano commented on Izuku's form while he perfected his latte art. I'm glad to see you are actually rested now. Izuku smiled. Thank you. I did get some well-needed rest. My head was just been messy lately with all the drama in my life. Ooh, you want to rant? I'm all for it. Yano leaned forward, eager to hear any gossip. Izuku snickered. No, no, I'm fine now. Plus, I think I have it all sorted out now. Besides, the whole background story is too complicated to really keep track of. Yano shrugged. All right, but if you need to spill any kind of tea, I'm right here. Izuku huffed out a short laugh before getting back to trying to make a heart out of the milk. It was harder than it looks, and it was apparently one of the new customers' favorite things about her red velvet latte. She was specific when she said that she wanted it to bird and have the foam heart on top. She started to come in not too long ago and orders the same thing before leaving without a tip. The bell on the front door rang, making Izuku step back to the front counter to help the new customer. Once he got there, he met a very tired blonde with an extravagant flip to his hair. He looked very similar to the sparkling hero known as Can't Stop Twinkling. Can I get a caramel coffee frappuccino with 2 extra pumps of caramel? The blonde moaned out, laying his head in his hands with a pout. Okay, I'll get that started for you. Anything else? Izuku asked, typing into the register. Why does life always have to play with me? The man quietly questioned. I'm just going to start working on that drink now. Izuku started, watching the blonde carefully as he readied the coffee machine for the order. One of my models canceled on me for a family emergency back in their hometown. It wouldn't be so much of a problem in any other case except this one. I have to get the photo shoot done by this Saturday, or I have to push back the launch entirely. The man explained. Izuku winced sympathetically. That sounds bad. Aoyama groaned. And it doesn't help that I made the whole fashion line based on my old classmates, and they only have this time allotted since all of our patrols are quite busy nowadays. What can I do? The launch date is supposed to be on the date we graduated, like an anniversary. Aren't your old classmates modeling too? Why can't they just do more modeling for the launch? Izuku asked, adding the caramel drizzle on top of the whipped cream. Aoyama shook his head. None. My fashion line has the designs based on my classmate which they would wear in the shoot, but I need another model to show off the additional items the collection has. And I wouldn't ask of them to take even more time off since the photo shoot itself will take a long amount of time. Well, maybe you could just find another friend or offer a model position to anyone you see fit, Izuku commented, placing a cap on their coffee and placing it on the desk. Izuku only noticed the man looking him up and down after he had finished paying him. He noticed his purple eyes scanning his face, then his hair, then his figure before smiling. Yes, Can't Stop Twinkling exclaimed, his purple eyes shining like stars. What? Izuku asked curiously as to what he was thinking about. The blond man posed dramatically, making sparkles seem to appear around him. Oh yes, you will be my next model. Ooh, this is so perfect. What? Izuku deadpanned as he watched the blonde sparkle in the excitement in his own daydreaming world. This isn't how he thought this day was going to go. Yes, fabulous. You would be perfect. Your freckles provide a more innocent look to what I'm going for with the casual wear. Your hair might have to be more curled when you get to set, but that could be arranged when you arrive. Ooh, I'm so excited to have you. Izuku blinked, not really understanding what was happening as Aoyama thrust a business card into his hands. And it looks like he was indeed right that the man in front of him was Can't Stop Twinkling. He could tell by the purple glitter on the card. Thanks for having me. Nan, say no more. Thank you for lending me a hand in my desperate time. Oh, how I've longed to find someone as kind as you. I will see you this Saturday. The photo shoot begins at noon, so try to arrive at the studio around 9 to avoid any trouble. We will provide breakfast and lunch at the studio as well as your makeup, hair, and clothing choices for each photo. I'm so grateful for your help. See you there, darling. Izuku watched as the sparkly pro hero rushed out of the cafe with a sugary coffee clenched in his hand. Izuku's green eyes watched his fatting back before Yano walked over. Yano came over to his side, barely holding back her laughter. Midoriya, how do you feel about being the next top model? Izuku looked back at her helplessly, causing her to start snickering louder. What the fuck just happened? Yano laughed hard as Izuku looked so confused over what had just happened. Am I a model now? What the hell is my life? Yano smiled. I don't know what might happen there, but have fun being a model. Yano lost her composure and started to laugh hysterically again at Izuku's unimpressed face. I should have known better. Okay, I think this is the right place. Izuku mumbled, looking between the tall building in front of him and the address on the business card in his hand. The glitter still hasn't come off his hand yet. He might still have sparkles under his nails. Izuku pushed open the glass doors of the building, hesitantly walking into the very high-end looking room. Right near the entrance was a reception desk with a nice-looking guy sitting behind the desk. Excuse me, I'm here for the photo shoot," Izuku said. The receptionist looked up at him. Did he give you his card with the glitter? Izuku slowly raised his hand to show the receptionist. Say no more. All you have to do is go out these doors behind me and keep going straight. When you reach a fake star covered in gold glitter, take a right and keep walking until you reach Studio 1. You can't miss it, the receptionist helpfully said with a smile. Thank you, Izuku replied, walking towards the doors. The receptionist waved, You're welcome. Izuku followed the clear directions until he hit a lit-up sign with the words Studio 1. Ah, this must be it, Izuku thought to himself as he marched through the open door. He didn't really expect every single fucking hero from Class 1A to be there waiting for him in casual street clothes. He recognized Toshinori's healing face and Aizawa's tired gaze anywhere. He even saw a casual-looking Present Mic that looked like he was straight from his radio job. Ah, Izuku-kun, welcome. Glad to see you have made it to my fabulous studio. Can't stop twinkling said. He turned around with a grand flourish to the small audience in the room. This is Izuku-kun. I invited him to the photo shoot. Ah, thanks for having me, Izuku replied, internally dying inside from seeing so many heroes at once. Hi there, Knockout. Fancy seeing you here, Hitoshi came over to say. Izuku smiled. Oh, Mockingbird, hello. Shinso smirked. You have no need to call me by my hero name here. You can just call me Shinso. Okay, Shinso. Bakugo interjected. Stop fucking flirting. We have to get ready for this damn thing. Oh right, when does it start again? Izuku questioned. It starts at noon and goes on until around dinner time. It's around 9 now, so here hours until it starts. In about an hour, everyone will be taken to dressing rooms to get their hair, makeup and clothes done for the shoot. And Izuku, you will be dressed in a few more outfits than everyone, just so you know. Got it, so what do we do in the meantime? We can just talk in this room and eat some breakfast at the snack table or there. Way ahead of you, Kaminari said before smacking Kirishima away from the cinnamon rolls. No, hey, that's cannibalism. You just say that because you want them all for yourself, Kirishima mumbled as Kaminari took a cinnamon roll. While everyone was waiting around talking to each other, Izuku stood near the food. Eventually, Invisible Girl came over to him. Invisible Girl approached. Hi, guy. Hello, Izuku responded. Hi, so I'm Invisible Girl. It's totally okay for you to call me Hagakure though. Okay, Hagakure-kun. Izuku tried to introduce himself. Hagakure chuckled. I already know, remember, how are you? While Izuku was chatting with Hagakure, Bakugo approached Aoyama by the snack table. Hey, Sparkle Face, why is Deku here? Bakugo asked. Aoyama looked up. Who? I invited Izuku. Aoyama, we are talking about the same person, Kaminari said. Kirishima rolled his eyes. Anyway, did you know anything about him before you invited him over? Whatever do you mean? Aoyama asked. Fucking, Bakugo said, running his hands down his face. You don't just invite a random barista to a photo shoot. Tell us now. Shoto questioned. Aoyama, are you a part of Aizawa's group? Honestly, I'm not part of either of you two's group. I just knew both groups liked him, so I just went okay, not a stranger at least, and invited him. Simple as that. Now, please move over so I can get some fancy crepes. Aoyama responded before gently pushing at Shoto's chest so he could get to his snack. Eventually, everyone headed to the photo shoot area, further into the building through some backwoods of the beginning studio they were in. The teachers watched from the side in their casual citizen clothes as their old students took the pictures. Aoyama invited them to take pictures, but he felt more comfortable with them wearing their own favorite clothing. Ground Zero wore dark green cargo pants with so many usable pockets. He wore a black tank top with an orange X printed over it. His muted orange sneakers had little grenades stitched on the sides. Shoto wore a half-red and half-white bomber jacket with two detailed koi fish on the back. His dark gray jeans were very form-fitting to his legs, having a bit of smoking details towards the pockets. The light blue shirt had a printed design of the kanji of half hot, half cold. The sneakers had a peppermint candy printed on the sides of it. Red Riot wore dark red ripped jeans with a studded belt. His shirt was a basic silhouette of his red shadow against the darker shadow of Crimson Riot. His shoes had the words "manly" stitched on the sides with black thread. Pinky had on an asymmetrical sundress with the teal and purple colors from her hero costume. She had on pink circle lens glasses with a charcoal black lace choker. Her shoes had the pink acid drip along the edges of the normally black sneaker. Froppy wore a green turtleneck shirt with a water lily picture printed at the bottom edge of it. She wore a pair of blue jeans with a lighter blue stitching. Her shoes had lily pads printed near the bottom of it. Uravity had on an off-the-shoulder light pink shirt. Her lacy white skirt was as poofy as a cloud. Her skirt's belt was a lighter brown than her hair, and it felt so cozy. Her shoes had little bubbles stitched on the sides. Ingenium had on a dark blue shirt with a printed design similar to the famous wave painting, and a pair of lighter blue jeans. His white shoes were made to act like running shoes were styled after his hero costume. Tailman wore a simple light gray shirt over a pair of black jeans. His denim jacket had a bit of faux fur to match his tail. His shoes were a tan color with a stitched design of a broken board like a karate master just chopped it in half. Chargebolt wore a black leather jacket over a light yellow shirt with a faded lightning bolt design on it. His acid-washed blue jeans had a flare at the end. His white sneakers had an electric design printed on the sides. Anima wore a nice, woven yellow sweater with little white pom-pom strings hanging down. His maroon jeans were very comfortable. His cream-colored shoes had a white rabbit napping on the side. Cellophane wore a striped yellow shirt with a tape dispenser cartoon on the chest pocket. His jeans were as black as his hair, with the little chains having a mini tape dispenser charm on it. His shoes in the same colors of his hero suit with the back of his heel, coming up into little circles to mimic his elbows. Sugarman has on a cozy white shirt with a yellow design that looked like the top of an apron. His pants looked very comfortable from how they hung nicely on his hips. His shoes had white striped and candies detailed on the sides. Tentacle had on a transformable shirt that he can tie in different ways to accommodate for his arms. His pants were a stretchy pair of jeans that brings in the light blue color of his costume. His gray shoes had black detailed stitching of the silhouette of his face. Tsukiyomi had on a black overcoat over a maroon shirt with a printed design of Dark Shadow being happy. His dark black jeans that had dark purple on the bottom that represented Dark Shadow. His shoes were solid black with a pair of eyes in the darkness. Creati wore a sleeveless red turtleneck sweater tunic. She had on dark black skinny jeans with a faded yellow color along the pocket stitches. Her shoes had her favorite elements from the periodic table on them. Earphone Jack wore a dark purple velvet moto jacket. She had on leather-looking pants that weren't a constricting material at all. Her shirt had the lyrics to one of her original songs printed on it. Her purple sneakers had her little earphone jack stitched right near the shoelaces. Invisible Girl wore a striped shirt that had lacing at the edges on the sides. Her denim skirt had little bubbles stitched in. The necklace around her neck was a layered silver chain with a pink heart pendant. Her shoes were holographic and fun. Mockingbird wore an endless gray infinity scarf that looked around his neck. His black shirt had on a printed design on the back that had his signature purple hair outlined along with the words "bow down." His slightly ripped jeans were a slightly darker shade of his hair. His high-top sneakers were black with the scripted words "Whisper" printed on the sides. Can't Stop Twinkling wore a very spectacular sparkly button-down tunic shirt over a pair of purple leggings. His shoes were shimmering in the studio lights from all the sparkle. Izuku had multiple outfits. He had a rainy day outfit with a froppy-themed rain boots and an Invisible Girl-styled raincoat. The rain boots were shades of blue and green, while the raincoat was more iridescent. Underneath the raincoat, he wore a pastel pastry shirt that was themed after Sugarman, while his bottoms were themed after the colors of Uravity's suit. He had on a Creati-themed wrap bracelet that detailed the colors of her suit. Izuku also had an anima-themed backpack with the more pastel colors of his orange and red suit that makes it more of a rainbow sherbet color palette. He had a casual outfit for a sunny day. He wore a denim jacket with a sewn-in design of a lightning bolt at the back that was themed after Chargebolt. He had a wrap choker with thrones of black, white, and yellow that was for cellophane. Izuku had on a simple white tunic like the clean uniform that Tailman wore, similar to a karate uniform. Can't Stop Twinkling themed high-top sneakers that had a multicolor sparkle against the white. His jeans were a more muted teal that was like Pinky's hero suit. The red riot black and red hat finished off the look. And he had an outfit for a cloudy day. That was the best way to describe the look. He had on a basic black mask that covered his mouth. The mask had a single stitched sketch at the edge of it with a silhouette figure crouching like a mockingbird was patrolling. He had on purple sneakers with hanging silver chains that was styled after Earphone Jack. He had on dark green jeans with a black belt was themed after Ground Zero. Izuku wore a solid black moto jacket themed after Tsukuyomi. And his split half-white and dark red shirt was themed after Shoto. Everyone posed together in separate shoots. Mockingbird and Eraserhead posed back-to-back. Creati did some action shots with Earphone Jack and Shoto behind her. Ingenium posed with Red Riot in a shot where they both did their signature pose. Sugarman and Tentacle posed in a more casual sitting shot on a wooden bench prop. Ground Zero had a more model experience with his parents' pee, so he did more single shots alone. Izuku posed with a mockingbird while he was hanging upside down. Izuku did a natural wall-leaning pose with Shoto next to him with a soda in his hands. Izuku did a whole squad photo with Froppy, Uravity, and Ingenium around him. He took a picture with Invisible Girl on his shoulders and Mina posing like a gangster on the ground, until his final picture where he posed with Ground Zero. The photo was set up like they were just walking down a street that had graffiti walls for some reason. At the end, the entire group took group photos together to fully show off the collection. After the shoot ended, everyone changed back into their own clothes. Perfect. I think all these pictures came out so great. Aoyama clapped while looking at the pictures the photographer took on the monitors. Hugh, glad that it's over. Who wants to grab some food? Ciro asked his friend PS only for the PM to hang over him in gratefulness. Fu wooed, Kaminari moaned out while clinging onto Ciro's side. Ciro laughed, guiding his squad of friends back towards the studio they were in first to discuss where to eat. The others began following them because dinner sounded really good. Izuku began to follow everyone before Bakugo held him back with a hand. Hey, can we talk? Bakugo asked. Izuku shrugged, sure. Bakugo led Izuku away from the rest of the group, until everyone was gone from the photography studio. Izuku breathed out before saying what has been on his mind the past few days. "Hey, I just want to say sorry about slapping you a few days ago and stuff." "It's cool, I would have done the same thing," Bakugo answered back. Izuku asked, smiling, "What made you try to even start talking to me about being a hero of all things? I didn't expect you to even care." "Well, truth is, it wasn't exactly my idea," Bakugo admitted. Izuku paused. "What?" "I have been going to therapy for a while, and they said that I should get rid of anything that held me back in the past." Izuku stayed silent as thoughts started to cloud his mind. Get rid of? Is that what he was to him? Just an obstacle in his path? "And then, I just thought of whatever was holding me back from becoming the best, so I thought of you." "I guess he didn't really change, no matter how much I thought he did," Izuku thought while glaring at him. Izuku interrupted to voice his thoughts. "And what exactly? Am I the thing holding you back from completing your ultimate dream of being the #1 hero? Am I just a puny, useless obstacle in your path? Did you just reach out to me out of pity so I could finally get out of your way?" "What? No," Bakugo tried to correct himself, reaching out his hand. Izuku slapped his hand away. "Was the whole entire reason for making me believe for a hot second that I could actually accomplish my childhood dream just because you want to help yourself. Everything was a fucking lie, wasn't it? You never cared about me in the first place. You didn't care in the past, so why should you now?" Izuku paused to smile bitterly. "I can't believe almost fell for it. But of course, I did because I still hoped that you would be better than the past. That you could be better than the bully I grew up with. But now, I'm just looking at the same bully that beat me down all those years ago." Izuku looked up, his expression entirely showing how done with this he was. "I'm done with this. I'm going home, and don't you dare try to stop me. Don't ever come near me at my work ever again." Izuku took off, walking fast out of the dressing room back to the studio so he could get out of there. He didn't know if Bakugo was behind him, and he really didn't care. He pushed past the back doors of the studio, heading towards the way he came. Shiro looked up at Izuku when he started to walk past the group. Hold up. Where are you going, Izuku? Did you want to come with us to dinner?" Izuku paused with his hand on the open door frame. He looked back. "No, I'm going home. I'm done pretending I have some kind of life." What happened?" Kirishima asked worriedly. Right then, Bakugo appeared at the back doors of the studio, drawing attention towards himself. Izuku sneered at his old bully. "You can all ask what happened from ground zero over there. I just want to leave. Goodbye." Izuku scurried out of there as the rest of the pro heroes gathered around Bakugo to ask what exactly happened. Izuku rubbed at his face, cursing himself for crying. He hurriedly waved goodbye at the receptionist before heading outside into the night. He looked up to the night sky, the moonlight bouncing off the tear stains on his cheeks. "Why did I think I would ever be a hero? Why did I entertain the idea?" Izuku wondered out loud bitterly to himself as he continued to silently cry. He sniffed before heading down the street, thankful that nobody was really out for a nightly walk. Izuku was just going to continue down the street until he heard the familiar shout of Deku behind him. Izuku scoffed before walking fast into the empty street to get away from him. It was too late to notice the portal opening up beneath his feet, and it was surely too late for him to reach out for Bakugo's hands as he fell into the warp gate. "We had a plan." After Izuku stormed off, Bakugo stood in silence watching him go with a bewildered expression. It took only a few seconds to run after him. He rushed past his old classmates who were confused at what was going on until he was past the front doors of the building. "Deku," Bakugo said loudly, as he started to run towards the familiar figure before he spotted a purple warp gate open from underneath his feet slowly. "Deku," he yelled, rushing to try and possibly stop his friend from falling through the all-too-familiar warp gate. Deku turned around slowly to face him before widening his eyes in shock as he fell into the warp gate. Bakugo kept running up to the place he disappeared to try and catch up to him, only for the warp gate to close before he could come close to it. "Damn it!" he yelled. He heard the rushing footsteps of the other heroes approaching behind him. Kirishima got to him first, Bakugo. "Dude, what happened?" Kaminari questioned with a worried look on his face. "Where's Knockout?" Shinso asked, looking around to see any sign of the green-haired man. "He's gone," Bakugo almost whispered from the way his voice sounded so soft. Todoroki furrowed his brow. "What do you mean? I'm sure we can catch up to him." "No, he's gone. They took him. We have to get him back before they try anything," Bakugo said, walking back towards the studio and away from the open night to get more privacy. Sato furrowed his brows. Wait. You don't mean that they actually are back?" Jiro asked, looking towards him for an answer. "The League of Villains is back. They kidnapped Deku," Bakugo answered, looking back at his pro-hero colleagues with an unreadable expression. Izuku frowned as his eyes started to adjust to the dark room. He was suddenly thrown inside through a portal. "Why did we acquire this gentleman again?" "Yes, what exactly is your plan for this, young Tamura? Why did I warp him?" Himiko giggled. "He practically has the whole hero class wrapped around his finger. He got invited to a personal hero shoot with them but can't stop twinkling himself in the middle of his job. He has known that little explosion boy since they were in diapers apparently. He could be a great help. He can either be their weak point or their worst nightmare based on what he decides," Shigaraki's raspy voice said before addressing Toga. "Good work scoping out the information from your little Uravity disguise." Himiko smiled. "Thanks, bossman. I knew her sweet, sweet blood will be of so many uses. I try to steal more when she isn't paying attention if I can. I wonder how this new boy will look covered in blood." "Don't stab the guy yet," Spinner said. "What the hell?" Izuku asked out loud, bewildered as his eyes adjusted fully to see all the figures in the room with him. And then he was looking at two members who were supposed to still be in jail. Mr. Compress and Spinner were there even though they were supposed to be captured. With another look around, Magni wasn't there with them, so he assumed that she was still in jail or in a reformation program. "Oh look, he finally adjusted," Dabai mentioned. "Welcome, get the heck out," Twice piped up. "Where the hell am I?" Izuku questioned, looking around a large dark room. "Welcome to the dark side. We have cookies if you want to join." "What?" "Shut up, now Izuku, I have heard a lot about you." "Oh shit, it once one of your guys I knocked unconscious with a pipe, was it?" "Holy shit." No. I don't remember ever getting hit with a pipe. Have any of you?" Everyone shook their head before looking back at the green-haired adult. "So, anyway, Izuku, I heard you aren't really fond of being called a hero." "I guess, where have you heard that from?" "Oh, we got all the info we needed from Toga's help." "Hi, how tasty is your blood?" "What the fuck? I'm like typo, I don't know," Izuku responded awkwardly. "Why did you even bring me here?" "Well, Izuku, I brought you here because you are tired of having that hero title forced on you from your little childhood enemy. Your bully got to be a hero while you had to force yourself into a normal life that you are unsatisfied with," Shigaraki explained. "Now, how about you become a villain?" "What?" Mina yelled, her voice bouncing off the walls in a more secure room in the studio. They asked basically everyone in the studio to leave for their own safety. "Why would they kidnap him?" Hitoshi questioned out loud. "Maybe it's because he has had contact with several of us." Ajiro shrugged, trying to think about another reason why. Zero remarked, "So what? That could literally be all the fans we take pictures with autographs for. There has got to be another reason why." "Also, why did he even run off in the first place?" Iida questioned, pushing up his glasses. Zero agreed. "Yeah, didn't we have a whole plan?" Bakugo started, well. Bakugo Hatsuki, Kirishima voiced. Ooh, he pulled out the full name. Hisashi whispered from the background. Kaminari mumbled. I have never seen him be this serious with him before. We all of us helped make you plan a great apology. You apologized for what you did, explain how you were feeling during UA, and then bring up the fact that therapy really helped you. Apology, explanation, all that feelings shit. What happened? Kirishima urged. I kind of told him, Bakugo said. Yes, Kirishima requested. Bakugo answered back slowly, that he was a regretful obstacle in my path. Kirishima insisted, how the fuck did you mess this shut up? Hell if I know, Bakugo declared. We had a plan for you to apologize, Kirishima argued. Bakugo winced, I got. Kirishima grabbed him by the collar of his shirt. I made you the plan. How could you fuck up a simple plan? Oh shit, Kirishima is cursing. Koda whispered, causing several heads to look back at him shocked. The surprised faces turned back from Koda to look back at the two before Aizawa stepped in with his scarves. Hold on, we aren't thinking logically. Now all of us are pro-heroes. We should focus on saving Izuku. Aizawa states, placing Kirishima and Bakugo away from each other. That's right. What we have to focus on now is how they were able to find out about Izuku and go from there. All Might interrupted, taking out his phone. I will talk to my friend at the police station to see about any possible locations that the League might be hiding out in. Right, so how would they even know about him? How could they have even known about this photo shoot? Momo asked, bringing up some points to her fellow peers. Uraraka furrowed her brow in confusion as Iida replied, Indeed, was there any way for them to find out about this shoot ahead of time? None. I haven't told a single soul except the people in this room along with Izuku in the cafe shop. Aoyama answered back. Maybe the people in the cafe had something to do with it. Was there anyone suspicious that you can remember? Sato asked Aoyama, but before he could answer, Uraraka's voice interrupted him. Uraraka asked at a loss, Wait, Kirishima, you told Bakugo you made a plan. When? Kirishima frowned, Yeah. We were all there for the meeting last week. We talked about the whole apology plan. You know, before Bakugo messes the whole thing up. What meeting? Uraraka asked with a very confused look on her face. Shoto's eyes widened before he focused right into her brown eyes. Uraraka, we told you about the meeting before we finished our patrol. You were there at the meeting. What do you mean? Everyone was gathering from the information before Uraraka gasped at the revelation. Tsuyu glared. Toga must have slipped into our meeting without us knowing about it. Kaminari scratched his head. Damn, if only we were more observant. We were being so loose-lipped in the meeting about everything. The whole meeting was us talking about him and how we were planning out the whole day today. She had everything she needed to know. She had the time schedule. She had every single detail of our plan, and about Deku's connection to basically everybody, especially his past with Bakugo. Kirishima shook his head. Uraraka softly said, I have no idea. She might have had more of my blood left over from the last time. God, this is all my fault. To solve future problems like this from ever happening again, let's come up with code words, Hisashi suggested. Hisashi fell silent at Aizawa's glare. Hisashi added, Not right now, of course, because we need to save Deku. No, Izuku answered shortly. What? Shigaraki asked. Izuku tilted his head. I have work tomorrow. I don't have time to commit any crimes or anything. Plus, why would I become a villain? Because we are cool, Twice added. Yeah, no, not going to happen, Izuku replied. I'll give you time to reconsider the option or else we have to resort to plan B. Yeah, why did you think this was going to be a good plan anyway? It didn't work with that Bakugo kid, so why would it work now? Dabai asked, strutting off with everyone following behind Shigaraki. Shut up, I have a backup plan. Shigaraki whispered before turning back to Izuku. Do reconsider my offer. I know your mind could be of many uses to us in more ways than one. Izuku heard the door close when everyone exited the room. Stupid. If I didn't run out, I would have been captured in the first place. Maybe if I could have listened to Bakugo instead of running away like that cliché moment in movies where one of those misunderstandings happens and… Izuku's eyes widened as he continued to think about what happened. Oh my fucking god. This has to be one of those situations that I yell at the protagonist for when they jump to conclusions. I can't fucking believe I fell for one of those kinds of situations. I swore to myself that things like this don't happen to that extent, but here I am now. When I get out of here, I have to work on my communication skills. When I get out of here, I need to start reflecting on future decisions to not make them more misunderstandings apparently. When I get out of here, Bakugo and I need to actually talk about what he was maybe trying to say. But if it is what I think it was, I'm going to punch him with my favorite broom. Maybe I'll just hit him with the broom either way since his words, even if they might be misunderstood, were certainly hurtful. Izuku felt a bit hopeful while he thought about when he would get out of there. By this time, they have all moved out of the studio into a more secured spot where Hitoshi and Aizawa often work. It was a secured spot that was very unfamiliar to everyone. It was apparently a place known for underground heroes to work out secret plans to take down organizations. All Might approaches everyone with a map. Okay, Tsukachi told me every single spot that the League has been spotted in the last month. They have been seen in areas from the forest to abandoned buildings near the old Camino ward. It is basically focused around in this area, but a few are scattered. They have been hiding for a while, haven't they? Why would they strike us now? Hagakure asked. They resurface often to do smaller jobs than what they used to do, but they still are just as powerful as they were the last time we encountered them. They have had more encounters with underground heroes nowadays, Aizawa replied. Now, let's get Midoriya back. Aizawa brought everyone together to look over the map with Hitoshi on his right side. He calculated where the League might be hiding with everyone listening. Bakugo focused the hardest as Aizawa explained their attack plan. He will break up everyone into groups with other heroes that are available to locate and break into buildings to narrow down their choices until they find the right one, with Izuku being held captive. Bakugo glared down at the map, with each of the locations circled in red, with only one thought on his mind. This is all my fault. Deku, I will make this up to you in any way I can when we save you. Izuku annoys villains and gets saved. Izuku didn't know how long it had been. It felt like a week, and yet it feels like it's only been a day or so. Or maybe he was exaggerating and it had only been hours. The only thing he knew was that he had fallen asleep at one point. Have you considered the decision more? And yet Shigaraki still wants to coerce him for whatever reason. He didn't know why. Like, what would it take for him to leave him alone? I don't know why you keep asking me this. I won't change my mind all of the sudden. My life isn't some boring origin story turning into a villain arc. Izuku ranted to the villain with a hand covering his face like an eternal facepalm. Look, if I wanted to be a villain, I would have started when I was 15. Now I'm in my 20s and I no longer give a fuck. So can you stop this? I have to get back to work eventually. I'm confused, Twice muttered from the side. Are we still trying to get him to join still, or is he just bait for the heroes now? I think he is trying for both, Dabai commented dryly, eyeing the restraints Izuku had on. In all honesty, it felt like the restraints were for show simply because of the large size of it. Did Bakugo have to deal with this huge thing? Wait, are those? Yeah, those are scorch marks. Damn, they didn't get news ones. Hey, really quick, Izuku interrupted Shigaraki, who was harshly whispering to Dabai. Did you use these before? Why do you ask? Shigaraki rasped. Izuku lifted his restraints to show off the scorch marks down the middle of the cylinder, holding his arms hostage. These look used, then melded it back together. Were these the only ones you had? Shigaraki turned away sharply. Shut up. Izuku blinked back at him, unimpressed by his response. Well, you are just wasting time at this point. I know at least one person will find me, or you will just get tired of me and either end my existence or just let me go. Either way, it will be better than just waiting here. Dabai ordered, can't you stop complaining? Oh, of course I'll stop complaining, Izuku remarked sarcastically with an exaggeration in his voice. It's not like I'm a prisoner here or anything. I'm starting to regret this, Shigaraki sighed, taking off the hand over his face to place on his head. He walked away, leaving a bored prisoner behind that was still unable to move. Just now starting, Dabai argued with his staples clinking together. He was leaning against the far wall with Twice and Toga gathered near him, all of them sneaking glanced back at their prisoner. I don't even know how long he has been here, but it feels like he has been here for like 2 years. Twice hummed, that's specific. It's been so long, and Shiggy won't let me take some of his blood, Toga whined with a stubborn pout. Let's just hope the kid caves in one way or another, Danny shrugged. Or the heroes show up. Either one will be better than standing here while he rambles. The heroes have been searching through the abandoned buildings, reaching out to other pro-hero stations in other areas to check out any buildings for any suspicious activity around them. But report after report, there was no sign. Until Kirishima finally got a call from Fatgum, that he found out that there has been some activity near a recently abandoned restaurant that had been closed due to a health violation. The people in the area have been saying that they have seen a bunch of masked people walking out and coming back in with grocery bags, but they don't wear any uniforms of any workers that could be renovating it. It's the closest lead I have so far, Fatgum explained to Red Riot over the phone. Thanks for your help, Fatgum, Kirishima grinned. All right, let's go scope out this place, Mina says right as Kirishima gets the location from Fatgum in a message. Joining together, they all traveled to the address as quickly as they could. They all stopped at 2 different rooftops with Gyro and Shoji checking the sounds around them. Bakugo was with Gyro, who immediately said, "That's his voice. They're all in that building." "When do we move?" Rikido spoke up, surveying the building even though the windows were darkened, not letting any of them see inside. "They are arguing right now from the amount of volume I hear. We should move now while they won't be able to hear us over their yelling," Gyro said, retracting her earplugs from the building they were on. "All right, let's go," Bakugo ordered the pro-heroes on the rooftop with him. He waved over the remaining half from the other rooftop. Sooner than later, the pro-heroes were all around the building, waiting for the next move to rush in and fight against the League. Bakugo moved on closer where a closed-off window on a wall was allowing muffled sounds to come through. He leaned in close to hear the raised voice of his old friend. "And if I was going to become a villain, what makes you think I would join your team? If I was going to be a villain and actually made plans for it, I would have done a lot of things differently." "What do we do now?" Kaminari whispered to Bakugo, who was glaring at the door. "A warning," Bakugo smirked, recalling the phrase that was used many years ago. He walked forward and knocked his fists against the door. "Pizza delivery." "We didn't, fuck," Twice's voice shouted from the other side right as Bakugo blew up the wall. Tsuyu immediately worked with Shiro to tie Kurogiri down by his metal brace when he started to try and make an escape. "Not this again," Dabai shouted as Shoto made a huge ice wall to block any escape they had. Dabai clenched his fists as blue flames rose up from his arms. "You know what?" Mr. Compress shouted as Pinky launched an acid leak right at his top hat. He ducked to avoid it only to find himself surrounded by Earphone Jack and Tailman. "Kidnapping might not be our forte." "You got that right," Spinner yelled right as Ingenium launched himself at him. Ingenium jumped up into a roundhouse and kicked Spinner's face. Ground Zero rushes in from the side. exploding the restraints that were keeping Izuku hostage. Izuku was rushed outside by Uraraka and Koda as the others dealt with the villains. Ground Zero gave him one last glance before rushing in to help his old classmates. Uravity went against Toga, who was constantly swiping her knife at her while grinning madly. Uraraka managed to restrain her on the ground right, as Invisible Girl appeared to tie her up by her wrists and ankles. Can't Stop Twinkling was aiming his belly laser shots towards Spinner, and twice, as they ran to try and avoid them. Ingenium was steadily fighting against Spinner while dodging his attempts to fight with his words and daggers. Mr. Compress was avoiding attacks of acid from Pinky right as Chargeable got a lucky strike that electrocuted him. Mr. Compress was on the ground shortly after being tied up and dragged farther away from the other villains. Izuku watched from the outside until he saw Shigaraki trying to corner Bakugo, while the others were distracted with Kurogiri, who was desperately fighting off the tapes holding him down. Next thing he knew, Izuku had thrown a decent chunk of brick into Shigaraki's wrist. Shigaraki yelped from the pain right before Ground Zero blew him away with an explosion. Shigaraki flew back into the ice wall with a grunt with Dabai peeling him off the ice. Taking his chance, Izuku started to throw little pieces of debris and garbage from the explosion at the villains that were running away from the heroes. When Mr. Compress passed him by with a hole burned into his top hat, he threw a banana peel right at his mask. When Spinner tripped on that peel, he threw a chunk of rock at his dagger to knock it out of his fingers. While Izuku was having the time of his life causing mischief, Dabai reached out to grab onto the leader and drag him out of the small indent left behind in the ice. "What do we do now, genius leader of ours?" Dabai yelled, holding onto his arm. "I can't deal without your sarcasm right now, staple zombie," Shigaraki argued back, reaching forward to grab onto Can't Stop Twinkling's cape only to start decaying a broken table when he missed. He dodged the hero's attempt at revenge in the form of his laser blasts by hiding behind broken furniture. "I can't get over the fact that you thought this was a good idea in the first place. I thought he would agree easier than the last time we tried, but he is just as stubborn as the hero." Dabai gritted his teeth, ducking behind the table when he had another ice spear attack launched at him by Shoto. "How the hell are we supposed to get out of this?" "Deal with it, we need to get out of here," Shigaraki ordered. "Make a distraction to make yourself useful." Dabai shook his head before making a large ring of blue fire around them, forcing the heroes to step back. Kurogiri took this chance to struggle closer to the fire and start burning away at the table, while everyone was still distracted away. Ingenium pulled Spinner away from the fire, twirling him around like a spinning toy to tie him with the capture tape he had. "Damn it, Kurogiri is getting away," Zero shouted, drawing attention to the fact that Kurogiri was making his way into the blue fire. Tsuyu tried to yank him back only to have her tongue severely burned in the process. She yanked her tongue back as Kurogiri made a portal behind the fire wall. Shoto immediately started to make snow to quell down the flames, but Shigaraki hurriedly climbed into the portal with Dabai following immediately after. Twice looked conflicted enough between looking at the tied-up Toga and the portal that gave Shoto time to freeze him right before the portal disappeared completely. And just like that, the portal closed behind them. Kurogiri, Shigaraki, and Dabai have escaped yet again, but the pro-heroes have captured Spinner, Mr. Compress, Toga, and Twice. "Does anyone have anything to eat?" Some of the heroes turned around to see Izuku standing off to the side like he hadn't swung debris at the villains. "I've just been eating dry ramen for a while now, so does anyone have a granola bar?" Creati stepped forward with a hand inside one of her punches to pull out a couple of snack bars. Izuku gently took the food while thanking her for the food. "Well, that was eventful," Uraraka said while Tsuyu held up a chunk of ice from Todoroki against her tongue. "But I'm glad it is over." Hagakure cheerfully commented, That felt like it took no time at all. Yeah, Ajiro said. At least until we actually have to write our report on it. Uh, I hate writing reports, Mina whined, folding her arms across her chest as Kirishima dialed for police reinforcements to come and take the hostages away. It wasn't too long before the police showed up to take the tied-up villains away. The heroes were busy latching each other up from any hits they might have taken from the fight. Bakugo reluctantly let Kirishima put a pink band-aid on his face since he insisted he ran out of colors, and that pink is a manly color. So with everyone walking around, Izuku was left to sit on the curb while things went on around him. Some heroes like Todoroki passed by him with a wave or a smile. When he was walking up, Shinso had even patted his head. Izuku slowly looked up to see Bakugo standing in front of him. Katsuki. Dekizuku. Izuku started back at him blankly like he was waiting on him to say something. He made no move to attempt to interrupt him, so Bakugo continued. Look, about the other day after the whole fucking model shoot thing. Bakugo sighed, clenching his fists. I didn't mean for it to sound like I wanted to get rid of you, or I was only doing it for some other reason. Izuku stares at him dead in the eye. Check your words next time. What the hell were you actually trying to say in the first place? Bakugo's eye twitched when he heard Shoto starting to laugh behind him. Shut up, Icy Hot. Going back to unoriginal nicknames, I see. Shoto remarked before walking away to go and check on Zero. Bakugo grunted before looking back at Izuku. I want to try to talk with you again, so I can actually explain fully. Izuku hummed with a disinterested expression. He groaned. Can you at least let me sleep first? We can talk later tomorrow. I haven't been able to get real sleep. I thought that the blonde with buns was going to stab me in my sleep or something. That's good, Bakugo cleared his throat. Text me your address with a time. MHM, Izuku numbly nodded back at him, sleepiness catching up on him. Sure, whatever, bomb boy, see you then. Bakugo nodded at his answer, feeling awkward as silence rose between them if not for the mumbling of the other heroes around them. Bakugo turned away and started to walk back to his friends to see who would write the report. And hey, Izuku called out when Bakugo started to walk away. Bakugo turned back around sharply to find Midoriya rising up from the curb, brushing off the dirt on his pants. Yeah. Thanks for saving me. Izuku spoke clearly without any hesitancy in his voice. A moment passed between them before Bakugo replied, It's what we do. Talking it out. Paperwork was hell. Don't get him wrong. When he was given it, he knew damn well that he was going to make sure everything was right. In fact, that aspect made the people from his old class still seek some of his help with their own paperwork. Anyway, it did take a long time to get through it all, especially since he was working from home that day and didn't have everything he needed in front of him. He was working from home since he took a day off from patrol to talk with Izuku without any distractions. They could only call them in if it was an emergency. So when Bakugo finally sent off the last email, he cleaned up his desk before heading out the door to travel to Izuku's apartment. I guess this is the place, Bakugo said when he noticed the old car that Izuku always drove around. He wasn't wearing his hero costume, so he wasn't as easily recognizable on the street. He went up the stairs right up to the door with the room number that Izuku told him about. He knocked only to be met with a voice from the inside calling out for him to give them a second. He waited until the door swung open to reveal Izuku in a white t-shirt and finally pajama pants. Hey, Izuku greeted. Bakugo nodded back at, hey yourself. Izuku gestured for him to come in, so he walked inside and immediately got hit with the familiarity of the apartment layout. It was smaller than he thought, but it had the same kind of feel as Aunt Inko's place. When the door was open, he could see the full kitchen area on the left and the living area to the right. And there was a hallway in the back, 3 doors. One of them was slightly open, revealing the inside of a bathroom. so he could only assume at least one of the other doors was the bedroom. The decor was simple, more simple than he thought Izuku would have, but despite the calm greens and brown colors, he could see multiple pops of color from small items around the room, like a small Shoto figure, so small it looked like it was from those toys given in kids' meals. So, Bakugo breathed out. Tea or coffee? At Bakugo's confused look, Izuku rolled his eyes as he started to explain. I'm guessing this will be a long-ass talk. Be warned, I'm better at coffee than tea. Bakugo pursed his lips together. I'll take a coffee then. Good choice, Midoriya said, already getting started by working in the coffee machine. Bakugo sat down on Izuku's couch while he got to work in the kitchen making 2 steaming cups of coffee. He waited in silence except for the slight mumbling he heard from inside the kitchen. Any sugar or cream? 2 sugars, Bakugo replied easily. Really? Izuku hummed in response. He walked over to him with 2 cups of coffee in his hands, reaching out with one of his arms to give Bakugo his mug. I thought you would be into the black coffee taste. Nope, Bakugo said as he took the mug from Izuku, noticing the grenade shape to the mug. I don't really drink coffee that often to actually like that taste. Izuku set down his mug on the table and looked at him. Go ahead and start. Guess I should start at the beginning. I was doing pro-hero work when I went to go visit the old hag. After I visited, she let me know that she ran into your mom and how you were doing. I found out about you doing 3 jobs at once and all of that. At first, I just wanted to see what the hell you were doing. So I checked in on your coffee shop gig one time and saw how weird you looked. And, Bakugo paused to take a long breath in. Seriously, 3 jobs. Izuku shrugged, reaching for his mug to take a big gulp from it. It's a living. So that's when I decided to keep checking in on you, which led to where we are now, Bakugo grimaced. And there was that whole first failed attempt at apologizing to you. Izuku looked away from him with a wince. I will say that I am sorry for running out before you finished. I really should have at least let you finish, but I just kept thinking about what it sounded like to me. It just sounded like a prank. Izuku pauses, taking a moment to gulp down 2 swings of coffee before continuing. Like all of the time you have been trying to talk with me was just for show, and you were about to break my spirit all over again. I didn't mean for it to come out like that, Bakugo explained quickly. I had this entire outline of what I wanted to go over with you, but I went out of order and it all sounded wrong. And then I couldn't dig myself out of the hole fast enough before you ran off. Well, Izuku sipped at his coffee once again. He set it back down on the table while his eyes focused back on Bakugo. How was the apology supposed to sound like? Shit, Bakugo said, leaning over to the side to dig into his pocket. Hold on. Do you actually have the outline saved on your phone? Let me guess, on your notes app. Izuku was thrown a glare, while Bakugo plucked his phone from his pocket. Damn, I'm right, aren't it? Izuku asked with a cocky smile growing on his face. Bakugo struggled to type in his password with a frown on his face. Did you get it yet? Bakugo grunted. Hang on, damn it. Wow, this is taking a long-ass time, Izuku commented with a grin. I got it. Izuku chuckled a little under his breath as the other man straightened up. I still can't believe you need an outline for an apology. Shut up. I need to hit every detail of this. Bakugo scrolled up and down in his screen before looking back at him, and then his phone and then back at him. To start off, I know I was a dick. Still are. Shut up, Bakugo protested quietly. Okay, fine, but less so from what the others tell me. I was a major dick to you when we were growing up. MHM, 10 years of being a major dickwad. But I didn't know how much of a dick I was until later in life. Because when we were growing up, I never connected it. Nobody corrected me, Bakugo started to explain, looking down at his phone again for a brief moment. It wasn't until UA that I got humbled really quickly. I wasn't the strongest like everyone praised me to be. I was surrounded by people with stronger quirks than me. It took years of time in UA to actually learn to be better. Sometimes I would be thinking about what you would do in a certain situation, and I used that and combined it with my own to make really good plans that pushed me further in school and even now sometimes. I didn't get a therapist until in my third year when they realized just how traumatized some of us were. I didn't think it had a damn purpose since I thought I was doing fine, just like everyone else. But the shitty therapist had me talk about a lot of stuff that wasn't just school related, and it led me back to talking about you. Bakugo sighed, taking a breath. He reached forward to harshly gulp down the coffee to wet his throat. With a grunt, he continued. The shitty therapist helped, but it wasn't for a while until I found out more about how I acted and why I did it. And just, Bakugo struggled for words together into a stance. It wasn't until I always almost dying to realize that you weren't looking down at me. What? Izuku interrupted. When was I looking down on you? Shit, I missed that point. But shit. Bakugo didn't pick up his phone when he looked at him to reply. When we were little, you reached out your hand to pick me up from the ground of that one shallow river I fell into. Izuku stared at him for many moments before shaking his head slowly. Seriously, that time? Okay, then just keep going. I don't understand it all yet, but go ahead. So I thought you were looking down on me. Like you thought I was weak and needed help from someone else when I was strong enough, Bakugo groaned. I'm not good with this wordy shit. I think I am understanding at least a sliver of it. Bakugo furrowed his brows in confusion. You do. Katsuki, I grew up with you for 10 years, Izuku answered with a somber smile. I knew when you started to be angry what kind of words would set you off, and when you were in a good enough mood that you wouldn't push me away when I was in a 5 feet radius of you. Our parents were friends. We spent time together when we were little before we even went to elementary. Yeah, I would say that I know you enough to see how you would misconstrue that. Izuku frowned a bit at the end. But still, I literally would have done that to anyone because I was being nice. If someone fell in front of me, I would offer them a hand up. But Bakugo tried to say only for Izuku to cut him off. I get it. Just continue on, okay? Izuku sounded like he was too tired to deal with a long discussion. I don't want a single point in your outline to lead to an hour-long discussion about who is more right in this situation. Let's just say that we both came to an understanding on this and move on. All right, Bakugo replied after a long pause. So that brings me to the fact that my therapist pushed me into thinking about my past and how I wanted to deal with it, and other stuff like what I wanted to pursue in my future. My therapist says the same thing, Izuku added in. And when I thought about it all, you came to mind, Bakugo continued, looking away when Izuku glanced up at him. I was horrible to you, and I never got to show you how I changed or tell you about the things I regret. Normally, I would just try to show you directly that I have changed through action and shit. But something told me that you wouldn't want to examine my actions that closely. Yeah, I probably wouldn't, Izuku nodded in response. So this is way too late, but I'm sorry. I should have been better to you, but I was too much of an asshole back then. Not at the same level I am right now, Bakugo coughed. He gritted his teeth together before relaxing again. For what it's worth, I am sorry for how I acted towards you for all of those years, and I understand if you never really want to see me again. Izuku breathed out slowly, his body still tensed. Okay. Okay, Bakugo urged for him to continue. What does that entail exactly? I don't want to forgive you for everything right away. You did so much to me that I still have problems even after all these years because of how much you affected me. I still go to therapy even though I haven't actually been in a while. Izuku trailed off before straightening up with a determined expression like he was holding himself back. So, no, you won't be forgiven just like that, especially since I can't immediately forget about all of the things you did. Bakugo nodded. He did a lot of shit to him. Most of it was ignoring and neglecting him apart from the select few physical and verbal attacks. But even then, it still wasn't an excuse that he could magically fix everything with. But Izuku started, staring at him with a "don't make me regret this" look in his eyes. "I will try to reconnect some sort of acquaintanceship with you. I'm not looking to be anything more than that as of now. We are going to need to talk more if you want to be my friend again. I've been hurt far too much from you, but I'm giving you this chance to prove to me that you have changed since then. So don't ruin this, for either of us." Bakugo nodded back at him, not trusting himself to not open his mouth and ruin it. He watches Izuku open his mouth again. "Now that's out of the way, can I get some information about the league from you? I don't really know all that much from the news." "Why do you want to know?" Bakugo asked, reaching for his cup to drink from the coffee again. "Because I'm confused as hell. One moment they are villains, then they are vigilantes, then they are back to villains. Now half of them are captured, and then they got out. And now most of them are captured again. Can you give me a summary so I know what I am dealing with next time they try to do this again? First off, I'm going to make damn sure that they don't try that shit again. Secondly, I don't really know much about those shitheads. All I know is that after the whole Shai Hasekai takedown, the League was approached by this big group of something who had a lot of money," Bakugo explained, scratching at his chin as he tried to recount everything that happened. "And from what we could guess, the League killed the major fuckers and stole the group's money before running away. As far as we know, they are still a problem, but they don't have the numbers and strength in those shitty monsters like they used to. So all we are dealing with is a villain group that isn't disappearing on us anytime soon," Bakugo summarized. "They haven't done any major massacres of big crimes as of lately except for this recent one with kidnapping you." "Okay then. Well, I hope that it stops soon enough," Izuku said after a moment. He remembered the big events that they did as more vigilantes trying to scare the society intro reform, and as villains trying to take it all down. How Dabai revealed something that shook up everyone. How Hawks went under fire when the Hero Commission went under investigation. And how the group just showed how much of a threat they could be. "I have another thing to ask, and this is the last thing." Izuku cleared his throat. "Why did you start coming to me and badgering me about being a hero?" "I've known you for a long time," Bakugo answered. "Even if I wasn't that greatest at that time, I knew how passionate you were to become a hero. I honestly thought when I was trying to find you that I would somehow find a vigilante with a bat somewhere." Izuku snorted. "But I saw you at some boring job instead. No bat or anything. And I thought that I could try and make a difference," Bakugo replied. "Somehow make you inspired again to become a hero, even if it meant that I just kind of push you into doing vigilante stuff. And what happens if I did? I would have to go through a whole high school teaching again if I wanted to be a hero." "Well, I was thinking more of you as an underground hero," Bakugo said. "I told Aizawa about how you analyze stuff and how that could be useful." "I don't know about all that." "Aizawa thought you would be good at that from what he knows already about you," Bakugo explained. "All you would need to do is show your work, and he will probably take you under his wing like he did Ibags." "Well, that's all the questions I had for you to answer, at least from what I can remember." "Well, if you have any more, you know how to call me." Bakugo stood up, chugging down his cold coffee. He winced at the cold coffee taste. "I should probably head home now." Bakugo walked up to the door until he heard Izuku call out to him. "Hey." He turned away to see Izuku shifted from his position on the couch to face him. "Yeah. Try some cinnamon spice with your coffee next time," Izuku suggested with a relaxed expression. No furrow between his brows like he had seen many times before when he was chased out of the store he worked at. "Maybe you'll like it better." "Yeah. Are you going to keep hitting me with your broom if I visit again?" "Of course I am. Screw you, Kakin." A few months had passed since the kidnapping. The remaining League members are still on the run with no real defining clues on where they are except for a supposed spotting near Russia. Izuku decided to quit doing the ride-sharing job based on the sheer amount of terrible customers he would get during the night that were drunk and too rowdy. but he did get a nice pay raise in the coffee shop. And his job at the small corner grocery store was still doing well, especially since he didn't get that many constant visits from Bakugo anymore to bug him. Instead, the blonde started to bug him when he actually had time. It had been a steady couple of months, and their progress was steady in rebuilding a form of friendship. He thinks what helped is the new friendships forming with his former class who were happy to share embarrassing stories about him that he never heard before. And with new friendships, a new business partnership involving his analysis developed with Aizawa helping his information go to the underground heroes that need them for their undercover jobs. And his analysis had apparently raised Nedzu's interest a bit more than Aizawa expected. And he was not expecting Bakugo until after his morning shift. And he was definitely not expecting to see the infamous explosion hero bursting through his window while he was mopping in front of the cashier. The sound of shattering glasses and canned food falling to the ground as the hero lay crumpled onto the fallen aisles. "Man, I just cleaned up," Midoriya muttered in disappointment at the spilled juices and milk coming out from the frozen section. Bakugo hadn't responded yet to him, which made him worry that maybe he was knocked out by the blow. The supposed villain started to walk up to the broken window, probably rushing to finish off the hero before he got his second wind. Frowning, Midoriya looked down at the ground to see bent canned food that he would have to throw away later because of the risk of contamination. He looked down and back up at the villain that started to bend down to go through the crushed window wall. "Damn it, might as well," Midoriya thought to himself, picking up the bent cans right as the villain started to get inside. "Ah, the hero has fa," the villain started to say before getting his head knocked to the side by a flying metal can of fruit. He looked flabbergasted at the interruption before being hit by another can directly to his forehead. "Ow, son of a..." "It sure would be nice if someone were to help me," Midoriya said loudly, jerking his head to see Bakugo finally starting to groan and move. "Really? Guess I have to take care of this." He turned his attention back on the villain, only to glare at him in outrage as the man knocked over a display. "Oh no, you fucking don't. Do you know how long it took to clean this place?" Midoriya charged forward when he saw another shelf fall and the magazines and newspapers spreading across the floor. He picked up his broom from where he left it and positioned it over his shoulder like a baseball bat. "If you want a fight, I'll give you one." The villain was about to reply when the broom smacked him across the face. Midoriya started to push at his head with the heavy end of the broom with its bristles pushing into his face and pushing down his head. The villain grabbed the broom and dragged it forward only for the green-haired worker to use the pull to his advantage, by jumping up slightly to land a perfect kick directly into the villain's crotch area. When the villain wheezed and went down on his knees to recuperate, Midoriya turned to start collecting from the ground again, only to see a limping hero walking towards him. "Thanks, I'll take care of this dumbass from here," Bakugo announced, walking past Izuku to the villain still kneeling on the ground. The villain heard his voice and tried to start edging themselves away from the hero that was steadily making his way towards them. "Hey," Izuku turned his head to glance over his shoulder at the hero. Bakugo paused for a moment to hear him clearly. "Give him hell." "I plan to." Bakugo cracked his knuckles with a blast coming from his palms. Midoriya watched as the explosion hero old friend picked up the villain by the collar and tossed him away before charging at him full blast. The fight was done before Midoriya had a chance to sweep up all the glass shards. He flinched when lights started to flash from the rush of press cameras trying to get pictures of the damages, while other interviewers started to shout out at Bakugo to answer questions about the fight. "Ground Zero, sir, what happened? Tell us more about the villain's defeat." "Why the hell do you want to know?" the hero shouted back at them while Midoriya started to push out the fallen glass out of the store. But apparently, his sudden appearance made one of the press curious about what he was doing in the store. Midoriya heard the footsteps before he looked up to see a camera near his face and a microphone in front of him. "Sir, can you recount what happened?" "Hey, don't bug civilians, you dumbasses." Ground Zero crashed through the window. I threw some cans at him and beat him with a broom before the hero got up and finished the job. Midoriya shrugged his shoulders at the interviewer as he blankly explained what happened inside the store. That's basically all that happened. Wait, are you saying that you helped defeat the villain? Ground Zero marched at them with sparks coming out from his gloves. What are you losers talking about? Ground Zero. Suddenly, Midoriya couldn't see with all the camera, microphones and lights being pushed his way, and other equipment aimed at Ground Zero. Is it true that this worker helped? "Huh?" Bakugo yelled out, taking a defensive place in front of Midoriya to distance him away from the prying eyes of the rest of the press that were crowding in closer. "Yeah, what about it? He did more than you fuckers did. He acted like a hero." "I'm not a hero. I just did what was right." Midoriya defended weakly behind Bakugo, which the cameras caught on their microphones. Thankfully, the press were pushed away by Bakugo and a few other sidekicks and nearby heroes that were finally able to kindly and effectively pull the press away from the scene. But that didn't stop the temporary fame following, when people wanted to know more about the store worker that the infamous Ground Zero had praised. Shinso smiled over his hot cup of coffee, still in his mockingbird costume. "Hading the spotlight that much. I was just handing a girl one band-aid and a person took a photo of it." Midoriya threw up his hands. "And now it's a whole other thing online." "Ah yes," Shinso hummed. "What are they calling you, that hashtag the civilian hero?" "I'm apparently the Musutafu's civilian hero." Midoriya responded weakly to Shinso, who was leaning against the desk. Since he had started to help Aizawa with his analysis, he became more known to be an unofficial analyst of the underground heroes. And that means that he had a desk to work out at a secure location where Mockingbird often came to visit during the night for coffee. And he wasn't needed for analysis. He was learning to fight with Mockingbird to improve his fighting skills for any needed defense. It wasn't what he would have thought he would be when he was younger and wanted to be a hero. But each time his analysis was used to defeat something darker than the villains during the day, he felt more accomplished. It felt like he was a hero that he always wanted to be. If only the public media would get off his back for doing mundane tasks like giving a crying girl a band-aid for her scraped knee. Somehow they weren't letting go of the fact that some random guy not only helped, but Ground Zero seemed to have some level of respect for him. And now, some parts of the public want to satisfy their curiosity by digging into his personal life to see what made him so special. Which means a simple bandage leads to a hashtag being formed about how it was so sweet of him. "It will eventually blow over. You should have seen me in the press after graduation," Shinso explained as he motioned to the hood of his mockingbird costume. "I could exactly be an underground hero when people were still talking about all members of my class for so long. I had to wait a few months before I stopped hiding my purple hair because I thought I would be too recognizable." "Hopefully," Midoriya replied. "But at least the media thing helped the store get fixed quicker because of how many people wanted to see it." "To see you," Shinso cheerfully added. Midoriya grimaced at the reminder while Shinso laughed at his expression. "Don't remind me." Eventually, the public died down with the mentions of his name, which allowed him to start picking up shifts again at the newly fixed grocery store again. And the reason why was because of the year's hero ranking that was happening that night. So with an early shift at the coffee shop out of the way, he relaxed for most of the day back at his apartment. And since he had some extra time on his hands, he cleaned up the floors and organized his shelves. The rankings didn't come on until later that day in the afternoon, where the pro heroes were dressed in the hero costumes and taking questions outside the venue. Izuku lowered the volume on the television as he started on his dinner, allowing the pleasant subdued audio to fill the empty air of his apartment. He got to finally sit in front of his television with his dinner right when the ranking started. He watched as smaller heroes and sidekicks got mentioned for their service, and small moves up the chart until it finally got to the top 10. Number 10 is Red Riot from his strength taking down villains. Number 9 is Sun Eater because of his involvement in rescuing many civilians by defending them against villains. Number 8 is Froppy from her impressive rescue work on the water. The announcer's voice echoed over the television speaker as Izuku raised the volume to hear their words better. A spotlight was guided over each hero as their name was called, giving a wave to the audience. Number 7 is the amazing Creati with her endless amount of variety she has shown over this year. Number 6 is Gale Force from his steady takedown of villain groups. Number 5 is Lemillion for his unending amount of rescue work that saves endless lives. Number 4 is Ingenium II for his speedy work in villain attacks and rescue work. Number 3 is Uravity from her amazing rescue work this year along with her villain takedowns over these recent months. The announcer paused to clear his throat. Number 2 is Ground Zero from his ferocious villain takedowns that saved many lives. Izuku leaned forward in his seat as he watched the expressions of the blonde barely changed, except for a slight movement in his eyebrows. The announcer continued on, and the one coming out on top this year for his work in charity and making a new organization with the help of Can't Stop Twinkling to reach out to people with quirks that don't fit their bodies. Our number 1 hero is Shouto. Izuku smiled as he continued to watch the rankings go on with each hero, giving their own words of encouragement to the viewers and what they wanted to say. He listened to their endless amount of supportive words with strong smiles given towards the camera and audience. Until it got to Ground Zero. He almost choked on his noodles as Ground Zero gave a victory smirk in the camera and flipped off Shouto, who stared down the orange and green glove with an unimpressed look. "I'll get it next year, Pokeball wannabe," Ground Zero challenged. Shouto blinked back at him. "I haven't played that game yet." And after Shouto's short speech, the rankings show ended with the rerun of the show coming on right as the line of credits rolled. During the rerun, he got up and cleaned up his dinner plate and placed it back up in his kitchen cabinet. He kept the television on to have the background noise as he picked up a small packet of ice cream from his freezer to have as a delicious treat. It wasn't until his belly was full of ramen and mocha ice cream that the doorbell rang out of nowhere. With a frown, he strolled over to the door and looked through the peephole to spy on who the hell wanted to see him. His eyes widened when he noticed the hero costumes that he had just seen on television not that long ago. He stepped back and opened the door to see most of the infamous Class 1 Pro heroes outside his doorway. "Hi," everyone greeted while Bakugo swayed back on his feet with a tense expression. Izuku looked down to see Bakugo holding a small statue in a death grip. "What is this?" Izuku asked in confusion. Uraraka answered, "We pitched in to give you a custom-made award." "I hope the design is adequate," Shoto said from over Bakugo's shoulder, ignoring how the other was trying to bat his face away from getting close to him. "We hope that you like it." "It is for your cunning work at sassing Bakubro." Kaminari spoke like a radio host. "Shut the hell up," Bakugo countered, trying to swipe at the other blonde with one of his hands. Kaminari ducked out of the way and hid behind Siro. "And for helping out, being our friend, etc., etc., Shinso drawled. He yawned in the middle of talking. "You get the gist." Kirishima thumped Bakugo on the back to push him forward. He fought against him for a struggling moment until he was pushed further into Izuku's doorway. "What these idiots are trying to say is that, thanks," Bakugo explained, quieter than his regular voice. "Thanks for a lot of things. Like my perfect photo shoot," Aoyama called out. "The pictures will be published soon for my new line. You'll be a dazzling star, Tilda." "Shut it, Sparkle Face," Bakugo glared at the blonde before turning back to Izuku. And thanks for giving me a chance to be your friend again." Bakugo extended his hand to lay the award into Izuku's hands, who became shocked at the weight of it. It felt real, like it wasn't just some golden plastic that anyone can buy online. It was genuine. Midoriya turned the award in his hand to see the inscription. "Midoriya Izuku, a hero in our hearts and a friend in our lives." Izuku's vision blurred as voices started to speak out in shock. "Oh wait, why is he crying? Did Bakugo make him upset? Dude, your face might be scaring him." "Be quiet." Bakugo's voice was louder than anyone else. "The crybaby tears run in his genes, right, nerd?" "Shut the hell up, Kakin." Izuku defended himself, using the shoulder of his shirt to rub at his cheeks. A loud whisper that sounded suspicious like Kaminari spoke up. "Does that mean he likes it?" Izuku nodded his head in response, sniffling back to stop his tears from escaping any further, but they wouldn't stop. It had been too long since he had cried, so now his tear ducts were making up for the lost time. "You're going to flood your apartment at this rate," he heard Bakugo say before a handkerchief that smelled like ash was pushed against his face. He took the handkerchief in his hands to wipe at his slowing tears as a small smile grew across his face. Maybe this life wasn't as bad as he thought it would be. He gained back a lost friend. He made new friends and allies along the way. He finally got an apology that he had been waiting to hear. And he became a hero in his own way, without anyone else holding him back from doing it. Midoriya glanced up to see the heroes still in formal wear looking back at him. He stepped back from the open doorway and gestured for them to come inside. "Come on inside, everyone. Pardon any mess. I didn't expect anyone to come visit me." The heroes entered with huge grins on their faces, as some of them immediately went to the kitchen to raid whatever snacks he might have in the cabinets. Izuku turned back to face Bakugo with no more tears slipping down his face. Bakugo stood outside of his doorway while everyone else traveled inside. "Spicy cinnamon coffee," Izuku suggested, while Bakugo grinned fiercely back at him. "Sure," Bakugo replied, finally walking inside as the others sneaked behind him to get in the apartment. His grin grew smug. "As long as you don't burn the roast like last time." "Screw you, Kakin." Izuku returned the grin as he answered back without that much heat behind his words.